cool.
Yeah. We're going to get up into 90 in a couple of days. But it's California Springs.
Right.
They go between 60 and 90. And cloudy. And sunny.
Should have a new, if you can hear me, I should have a new NBA ad soon because they are starting a new Kickstarter very shortly. And with some Euro buildings, which is good. It's good to hear that is coming. Let me just make sure I got everything good. Final checks here.
Yeah.
Hit that, and hit that. What's up, Caesar? I'll refrain from talking about Tim's adventure session 0, which went very well until he's on, which he will be on tonight. So I'll hold off. Yeah, Wiley. Sorry, I know you weren't on, and sorry I missed Wu-Tang's, but my son had a soccer game, and then we got there, and the other game before them on the field was delayed, so we were like sitting around waiting for 45 minutes. It was painful. Very painful. So hopefully you guys are all good out there tonight. Just someone say, hey, you can hear me. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, what? Huh? So after this one, Hannah, it's going to be like Shotgun coming up. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like...
So many cool guests and stuff lined up. So.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be boom! Yeah, no problem. I'll give you another one when there's more people on too. Trying to keep up with everything. I know I owe a couple people some new streams, some shout outs. Just haven't had a chance to program them in. Got to get moving on that. Oh, considering it's a Troller Game giveaway night, you'd think I'd be able to do this too. And that's hit that. So... Thank you. It is. It's very wonderful.
And that's thanks to all you guys. Yeah.
It's going well with everyone, and that's such a great thing.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're just gonna keep on going. So, Geek Dice. I've been talking with Stella, and about her Greyhawk stream, helping her. So I can't wait to see that come together. Who came first, Charlemagne and King Arthur? King Arthur. By far. Holy Roman Empire was until like, what? 1100 AD?
Roman Empire.
Holy Roman Empire. It was like...
Oh, yeah.
It was after the Norman invasion, yeah.
Yeah.
So... Yeah! No way. I'm not that old. I may be old, but I'm not that old. Yeah. So the Holy Roman Empire was before the Norman invasion? I guess it was. Oh yeah, I guess so, because William the Conqueror was a descendant of them. So I'm like, duh, on me. Because like, William the Conqueror's grandfather was that Hammer Martel guy who stopped the Moor invasion in Spain, I believe. Maybe I have my history wrong.
Yeah, I've seen so, and read and seen about it, but now I'm not really sure which
Yeah.
order everything happened.
That's still King Arthur's
Age-
before. King
Dark
Arthur's
Age.
way before.
Oh yeah, that's way.
Cool. The ever mysterious Tim will be with us eventually tonight. Yes, Dave, that's good, but it's just because you can believe everything on Wikipedia. But I imagine that one's right. Yeah, when in doubt, consult the Oracle. Normally Tabletop Notch comes on at 7, and there was no Tabletop Notch on while we came on here. So that was weird. I didn't see them saying they didn't have a stream, but that's okay. Stuff happens. Normally they're on when we go live. So, don't know. Get my hands on the arena. I haven't talked to Bill all weekend, so hopefully we got up our printers back up and running. That's coming out any minute. So. Oh no, not 76, Mikey. I was 9 then. I started playing in 78. That's a good question, Patrick. I don't know. I don't like equating fantasy to real life, so that's a question for the theoretical world. Because King Arthur himself is theoretical, right? It's all so I don't know about that. Mattias was showing me that OSE has a knight class, which is really just the Cavalier class. What time is it here? Okay, I'm just gonna let this run a little bit. Yeah, that's a good question though. I mean, I think that's what they were going for, and we're going to talk about the evolution of it and where it is now. But I mean, just things are, everyone goes, oh, it's broken. It's so easily fixed. And I know Matty's gave me this copy of where this article is on the corrected Cavalier, August of '89. Well, we had done all this on our own, so we'll talk about that too. But theoretically, I would say, probably. Although that kind of armor didn't really exist at the time of King Arthur, that heavy plate, right?
No, that came later.
That came later, so...
The knights and the jousting we saw, that came almost...
Pre-Renaissance.
Renaissance,
yeah.
Exactly, that was a Renaissance. That was after, and that was more ritualized than what happened in real warfare, so to speak. So,
yeah.
So the knight will be more seen as a sportsman than as someone on the battlefield, in a way.
True. Yeah, that's a tough question, though. Converting them over just always leads it to oh, thank you there, Troy. Always leads to those kind of questions. Yeah. Well, exactly, and that is such a great movie, but it's a series of different books, right? Basically. Almost hype trained again. Thank That's good to hear. Fuller, I agree. That's cool to hear. Oh, and you've only been following for a week. That's awesome. Very, very cool. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to go over a lot of where, just like that with a fighter, how we got here, where we are. Hype train.
So, wow, we get a hype train.
So I'm going to go live. Oh, it's 7:28. So 2 minutes early is cool, right? It's always cool. There we go. Oh, look, they even got the song playing twice. So we're going to come on here. So good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? I'm J.K. Lurkazan, but I got Anna Meyer with me tonight, and the ever so mysterious Tim will be on as soon as he can get on. So welcome, everyone. Hope you're all good. Hope everything's well. Hope you had a nice weekend. This is man, I'm kind of like Anna got. I didn't get grief, but some people were like, it's broken. They don't have that in the later editions, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of
hey, Nick. Yeah, go ahead.
My view of the Knights class or the Cavalier is kind of, I see it as the it's ridiculously narrow fighter that is kind of half useless on the battlefield. That's one way of looking at it. On the other hand, it's the coolest, most obvious D&D class after the wizard, so to speak. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I see this dichotomy because I knew when I started playing, that class would have been available, I would be like, oh, that's kind of awesome. I want to play it. But on the other hand, I see it as simply as a fighter with a narrow focus, so to speak.
Yeah, true. That is absolutely true. But there's ways to fix that really easily, and I'm going to discuss that tonight. So people were still coming on. It's not even 7:30. We have our great sponsor, Troller Games, and just remember, you should never order anything from the Troller Game Store without a coupon. And all you need to do is come here, and there's always, what's up there, Tim Enoch and Vic Danger? There's always TLG, LG 15 off all the time off this channel there on any purchase. So at minimum ever, you're going to get 15% off. But tonight, to tie in with this, we're going to have not one, not two, not three, six. They're giving away 6 things tonight. Now, they're all the same except for one, but they're really cool. And Chuck and I were talking about this over the weekend. What can we get to tie in? And they have a book that I don't know how many of you have, but it's really neat. It's got a lot of miscellaneous things on it, and it's got some stuff on knighthoods and a lot of information in this. And that's called the Codex of Aird. Now, what we're going to do is, for this giveaway, the Codex of Aird book, giving away one hardback with shipping. The hardback book is $50, okay, on Troller Games Store. So I told. So Patrick was on. I'll tell that story in a second. The Codex of Aird book, and then 5 of these in digital. The digital print of this is $20 itself. Okay, so there you go. We're giving away. I haven't set it up yet, Zump. Let me do that. Yeah. So think about that. They're giving away roughly, with the shipping, they're giving away like $160, $170 in prizes tonight. Yeah. So it's going to be it's a cool book, and yeah, you're right there, Patrick. Sometimes you got to beat your guys up a little bit here. So let me see. Come in. So let me go. And no, it just Chuck's Troller Game's such a great company. So let me set this up. And thank you for the follow. We've been rolling on follows lately, so thank you to the community and all that have. That should start it up. Yeah, you did jump the gun, but it's no big deal. That should start. It should pop up any second. There you go. Now it'll work. All right. So the Codex are aired at the end. You got to be on to claim it. The first person I draw will have the hardback copy with shipping from Controller Games, and the other next 5 will get this book in PDF download itself. Which oh, good, Jason, good to see you, man. Good to see you. So this is right up your alley too for one of these. So Cavaliers. Wow, what a whirlwind the Cavalier was. If you go back to the beginning, and that would be 1983, and every dragon they seem to be prepping for this Unearthed Arcana book coming out.
Yeah.
And then dragons.
Yeah, that was a long time in the making. They worked for years on that one. It was a bit like Temple of Elemental Evil. It was hinted at for years and years, and then finally it came out. What was it, like 80?
Came in 83.
It came in 83.
Came in 83.
Yeah.
So it came in 83. But this is an article that comes out in Dragon number 72. Okay. And it's 83, the Chivalrous Cavalier.
Yeah.
And it's they put it in as a From the Sorcerer's Scroll. 1983, Gary Gygax already reserved.
Yeah, why didn't play? I think we had the first one, maybe 85, 86, I think.
I remember,
I didn't use it.
Okay.
Early days, no.
I remember specifically when we were playing at this time, the rush for Barbarians, which came out in this book, and the rush for Cavaliers, which came out in this book. And they were all over. The fighter kind of disappeared for a couple of years because everyone wanted to play one of those two classes that had come out. The Thief Acrobat that came out in this book no one really was interested in that. But those were the two main classes that came out in the Unearthed Arcana book to everyone. I don't think so. I think it was 83.
I think it was later, but yeah, I think because
I have my falling apart copy right here.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get my hands on it until 85, so that's why I'm thinking. But
if
maybe
it's 85,
lack of copies.
Well, it says maybe 80. It says 85. That is weird. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. You're right. But we were playing the stuff out of the Dragon magazines. Thank you. You're correct. We were playing the stuff out of the Dragon magazines at that point.
Oh, so yeah, so
that's
you
what
were
we were doing.
Playing it. Yeah, you were probably playing it early because.
Thank you. You're correct.
I didn't get a hand on Unearthed Arcana until early '86, I think it was, or something like that, because they were shipped in a container somewhere for 2 months or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are the ones. I mean, all of them. The binding fell apart. Yeah. Your first generation.
Exactly. The good thing is that we in Europe didn't get until the second printing, which the binding was better.
And you want to talk about errata? I mean, if you probably all have glued-in errata here, tables that are wrong and typos, and that came out in a Dragon, and you had to copy and paste it in, glue it in, or do whatever. But these books, I mean,
bad.
Yeah, they just fell all apart everywhere.
But was there any difference? Was it a difference between the first Dragon article with the Cavalier and
and
that's the one that finally came out.
And that's the huge evolution we're going to talk about here.
Yeah.
I thought that in a lot of cases, and I don't know why, the Unearthed Arcana was I don't know if it was dumbed down or they reined Gary in or something, but it just so. And Tim will come on and argue this point with me as soon as he comes on here. So thank you, Patrick, for that gift sub to Big Mac. So the Cavalier comes out, and it has got some great classes now, great attributes. Now we're going to talk tonight. Our Cavalier and this discussion. What's up, David? This discussion is going to cover four classes. All right. Tonight we're going to talk about 4 classes. This is the evolution of the Cavalier. Like I said, everyone, please sign up. There's 6 giveaways tonight. The Cavalier itself, the Cavalier Paladin subclass. Okay. The Elven Cavalier. That's a picture for the Elven Cavalier that's up right now. And Bill's Foot Knight / Saxon class. All right. So that gives us 4 classes that have evolved in our play style with the Cavalier that are actually subclasses or have derivations of the Cavalier in one form or another. So I don't want to embarrass Anna. So have you ever played a Cavalier in my campaign?
I played an Elven Cavalier.
All right,
Yeah,
Anna.
yeah. Oh
Yes,
yeah,
I
definitely.
have her
Yeah.
right here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jassi Yasmini,
Yep.
Elven
Mm-hmm.
Cavalier, 10th
Yep.
level, in the Falcon fundraiser. I think that's the last time because
Yeah,
because she was
I've
kind of
only
made up.
played it once or twice,
Yeah.
not many times. Maybe twice, I think, but not
Yes.
more than that.
Good job. Yeah.
Yep.
She's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. And
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Yeah, they're kind of great but narrow. And I
yep.
kind of like more broader
Sure.
abilities, but it's cool, so to speak. And yeah,
And it seems like it seems that way with the Cavalier, but I don't think it has to be that way because
that's
it,
it's a bit like the illusionist versus wizard, so to
yeah.
speak, in a way that yeah, if you take a fighter or a cavalier, it's a bit that way.
If you take the rules from Dragon 72 or from Unearthed Arcana and you take them all complete verbatim, I call it verbatimizing or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like taking taking canon completely, nothing else is beyond that. Then you narrow yourself because there's stuff in there that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Really, I know that this is and thank you, Mikey. No, it was Yaki and Mattias and everyone else who the corrected Cavalier. We did some of this stuff right off the bat. So, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'll post my links URL in the chat
Here,
here in a second. Yeah,
I got it right here.
okay,
Quick
perfect. Yeah.
shout. Yeah, I can, 1 second there. Boom.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
There's your Patreon. If you want to put up your website too, Anna.
Yeah, I put that in here. If I could just find I can steal the link from somewhere. Yeah, there we go.
You get to the Cavalier, and it starts off cool. This is Dragon 72. Okay, so we're talking 83. Thank you for the correction on that. I don't know why I thought Entertainment came out in 83. I guess it's just that's when we were playing them because of the articles.
Because you started. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at this, stuff jumps out right away. All right, and that is, oh my gosh, class level limits are removed. Okay, so there's no class. There is no class level limits. Thank you, Ab9. There's no class level limits on this.
Oh, you're
Elves are
talking
Cavalier.
Oh, you're talking even for demi-humans?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because there were no class limits for humans, I take it, ever, so to speak, because then it would be kind of useless to have the class.
So this is like the signal that class level limits are going to go away altogether, in my opinion. Why would a half-elven Cavalier have no class level limit, but a half-elven fighter does? That didn't make sense to me. All right.
And now you're talking Unearthed Arcana, or you're talking the Dragon
72. This is Dragon 72.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
maybe they were moving towards taking away the class limits and just wanted to shift them into an errata and then simply update the player's handbook or something.
But there's a ton of class level limits in Unearthed Arcana, but with crazy stats as the stats went up. So like if you had like a half elf and certain things needs 18.
Yeah, remember if you had higher stats, you can go up higher in levels.
So, which was the beginning of the KC era min maxing. I'm kidding, Casey.
Well,
I'm kidding,
but that's a natural progression of games in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah. But one thing I must ask is that now here you have basically what is a specialty, a narrow fighter class that is specialized in mounted warfare and using lances and on the battlefield. Back in a time when almost all the adventures were set in dungeons.
Yes, and this character, like, where do we go with this character? And
yeah, exactly. To me, it's kind of interesting. I can totally get the desire to play that character because it's such an iconic figure from medieval and from fantasy and stuff. So, but the interesting thing is that they put that class in there. I guess the Dragon article was kind of maybe only an experiment or something. But when they put it in Unearthed Arcana, they barely had rules for overland travel. They didn't have any wilderness rules. There were nothing.
You had to figure it out for yourself for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting that they started on the class level and then first with wilderness survival guide or handbook. Yeah. That was the beginning of kind of outdoors adventuring, at least regulated. Yeah.
And what they did here was in this article, from 72. I'm almost
Yeah.
positive it says this is the first in the installments of classes that will be coming in the Art Arcana in the newest
Ah, okay.
publication. So you
Yeah.
knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So we're like, awesome, this is great.
Hmm.
So we were excited because fighters are cool. Now this is before weapon specialization
Yeah.
exists too.
Hmm.
And we didn't know if they were going to give it to fighters or not. We didn't see an Arcana, but then they had some really neat things in, and this is where this is a bone of contention with some people. Once again, there's no right or wrong way. I do it a certain way. You can always do it a different way, and that is perfectly cool. And that's the great thing about it is they gave a lot of proficiencies. So, thanks, Clever, for that gift sub. Really appreciate it.
So this is the genesis of weapon specialization
Yeah,
in that Dragon article for at first, so to speak.
absolutely. Now,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
with this genesis comes some changes, and if you look here, um, now that they also go into the negative levels of the training for the Cavalier.
That's
Okay,
true.
Stefan,
Yeah.
I'll get you back
Mhm.
up on that VIP. Yeah, man, you're right on that, man. I'll get you right back up on that.
That's very interesting. They have 0 level
Negative
and
levels.
like negative level.
Yeah.
That is like pre-levels in coded in. That's interesting. That's probably the first and only example of that in D&D history.
It is in this era. Yeah, they had 0 level characters in like the Greyhawk Adventures book that comes out.
Oh yeah, and
But-
exactly. And there's some. Then it's come back in third edition. There was some attempts that way too. And then yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
but this
Kai.
is interesting that
Yeah.
they started that way.
So, and you notice, wow, you go, holy schmolies, that's a lot of proficiencies.
And you have number of weapon proficiency. Are that different weapons or that you
Yes.
can choose the
Oh
different?
yes.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
yes, and
Mhm.
it's crazy when you think about it. Look at how
Yeah,
many.
so you can have
Right.
everything from short sword to great swords to whatever, so to speak.
Right. What's up, Bill?
Yeah.
So, but another bizarrety is they have now specialization at a single specialization +2 to hit +1 damage. When Art Arcana comes out, it's reversed. It's +1
Yeah.
hit +2 damage. Well,
Mhm.
we've kept it in the Cavalier at +2 +1. We kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
And double specialization still +3 +3.
I
But note
guess
this:
they-
it's a lot of weapons. This is a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
All right.
But I guess in a way that I can understand a little bit that they moved it over to damage, because if you increased it to hit, that's a bigger advantage than to have more
Yeah.
damage, because when you hit more often, then you deal out way more damage over time. And also to spread it out over weapons is not that much. That's cool, but it doesn't give the character that much actual advantage, because you can only use one weapon at a time, and you will soon find your ones you like. So it's kind of a redundant, useful. Once you have a specialization, you need more than maybe 3 weapons, like one's regular, one ranged, and one blunt. That's basically all you need. And to have 7 different weapons, that's more like carrying 40 golf clubs in.
Well, yeah, it is, and
Yeah.
we kind of, with our new proficiency system, it doesn't, that kind of takes
Yeah.
care of itself.
But I like it. It adds flavor rather than
Right.
than actual benefits, so to speak.
Speaking of flavor,
Yeah.
this is also from that magazine. So here is in the second column. Here are the preferred weapons in order. Now we are very, very flexible. Thank you again for the follow.
Yeah.
Very, very flexible on what we allow and what we don't in specialization. We do not allow the large two-handed weapons and pole harms ever. But if
So
you notice,
no great swords or like two-handed sword?
not in specialization. We'll talk about that with the Saxon,
That's
right? The
interesting,
foot
because
knight.
that is kind of a chivalric weapon in a
Not
way
on,
that-
not while mounted.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
you
But
can't-
so mounted
yeah.
is the focus, so to speak.
Yeah, it should be. It should
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
So long sword, of course, and then broadsword. And for some reason, they say broadsword's the one that you could double, and then scimitar, which I think they're trying to go with an Eastern flavor, a little bit like
Or
Huns or something.
Greyhawk and Bacloonish, I would see as.
Yeah, that's a good
That's-
point there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up there, Gary? So a very good
Hello,
point.
Gary and Bill. Yeah.
Yep, good to see you both on here. So,
Yeah.
like I said, you guys can correct me, agree, disagree, whatever you want to do. We're
Yeah.
rocking with the announcements tonight here. So I'm going to pop up both Discords, Greyhawk Con, and Cannonfire, and note that Greyhawk Online, you can go right to their website. So, and then there's Bow down here too, which there's another wrench into it. Now, there's cool weapons on here. Back to Corbin, I always love halberd, you know, short sword, dagger. Why would you want to specialize in those? So it's kind of a little bit of a mishmash of weaponry. Now, I like it for variety. I like the differences, and this goes away in Unearthed Arcana, which kind of, yeah, spear is an odd omission. I agree, but we put it back in because Puppet, because Sashar Square and Build a Master Crafter has a guy who's Javelin, right? I think Javelin's on here. Javelin's on there down low, but I don't know why Spear's on there. We have some people that are the Cavalier or Cavalier Paladins that use some different weapons. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of traditionally would see spear as the poor man's weapon, so to speak, because it was cheap and dirt effective, so to speak. So it was kind of seen as the every man's cheap weapon to use, and cavaliers or knights would use a weapon simply because it was expensive and cool and out of reach for commoners, so to speak. At least historically, it was more that way. So that,
yeah, Bill, thank you.
Might taken.
I'm brain fried tonight. So Marcus Camara from the Iron Brigade has a spear, which is eliminated from this list. So I was going the right direction and I got all tangled. Yep. So this is a table that's in Unearthed Arcana 72.
Yeah.
And this gives you a lot of flexibility and weapon choice, which I kind of like. I like the flexibility. I don't want them all to be the same.
Yeah, something I think for interesting, but where you can limit that and diversify it due to cultural preference.
Absolutely.
You can say that Bakluni might use falchions, and you can say that maybe you can have an Ullman, or you can have Tuov or something that might be spear specialist, or have spear as their main weapon culturally or ethnically or something like that. You can kind of flavor you can if you want to. So yeah, that's one option to go, I think.
Oh, it's cool, man. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Samurai, I would see as a very natural, an Oriental cavalier or knight in that will be a regional version of this class. Yeah.
I hate limitation. A man's got to know his limitations, but I quoted a bad.
Well, it's boring in RPGs to have limitation, especially if they're only there to make mechanics smooth it out. 4th edition, I think, is a perfect example of that. You mirth and smooth out and just come up with things so they mechanically identical across all classes.
And that's not fun at all. And you know that we don't like the same old with 45 classes or whatever we have, something crazy now, you know. And all the variants on it. All right, so as we get to as we continue down on this Cavalier look here from Dragon 72, you come to the experience table. Now, I want to note something here that a lot of people don't realize. Cavaliers, according to this table, now they don't get 10% bonus, so it's awfully close. They get to 9th level faster than a straight fighter. Fighters get to 9th level at 250, and Cavaliers get to it at 220. And then at 10th level, fighters are at 500,000 and Cavaliers are at 300,000. So that's a 200,000 XP difference there. Who made that? I don't know, but that's a massive change.
Could that have been seen? Was multi-classing ever an idea for Cavaliers, or were they intended to be a solo class?
Solo class.
So that cannot be the thing then.
Thank you, thank you there, Walt.
Yeah.
Walt gave us a great. I'll talk to it during announcements. I think, Walt, if you're on Gesture a little while ago about giving us some free stuff to give away, courtesy of them at the old school D&D, which is really cool. So, and note this bottom thing: 1 die 4 plus 1, 2 die 4 plus 1. If you were trained in negatives, you got die 10 plus 3. So you started. If you had you had to have a con bonus. If you started without a con bonus, you were at an advantage over a fighter. You had 13 hit points to start instead of 10, which I thought was cool too. A little difference.
But what about fighting ability? Meaning, which one was the best mechanically? Meaning, was did fighter has any abilities that kind of warrant them to or did
Well,
they just suffer compared
they
XP
kind
wise,
of
so to speak?
suffered until
Uh-huh.
we made some changes to them, which we
Yeah.
have with
Yeah.
abilities like Battle
So let's say
Shout
like a
and
fighter with 500,000 XP would be clearly mechanically disadvantaged if you had the
oh
original rules.
man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a really good question, but I think it just depends on gear and the character, the player. Um, I have my old guys. Oh, let's fight them and see. I'm like, no, we're not. No, because it's a
Yeah.
roll of the dice. Whereas Tim will be on, Gary. I guarantee. Tim said he was running a little late from family things. He will be on. Trust me on that, because he will argue with me about the Arcana Cavalier all day long.
Yeah.
But yeah, he will definitely be on. Plus, we all want to congratulate him on such a great session 0 yesterday morning. Here's another huge advantage. Cavaliers, when they are specialized, go now and get 2 attacks per round, as you see, at 6th level, where fighters are at 7th. So, and then at 11th level, they're and that 5 here he comes. Actually, look at that. It's like you summoned him.
Yeah.
It's like
well, you did.
whoops.
You talked about him. So yeah.
I couldn't get it off of this. I can't.
Oh,
Come
look at
on.
that.
I'm
He's
trying to.
well
Crow.
equipped
I
for
wanted to show
this.
Crow's host. There you go. Thank you so very much. And I
Yeah.
moved everything around. It's one of
He's
those
ready,
nights.
ready for the tournament.
Thank you,
here.
Crow.
Yeah.
So there's a mistake on this. It should say 2 every 1 or 5 every 2 there on the 11 to 15.
I should say there is a mistake.
Oh my gosh!
Mhm.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god! Hey, Scott,
I should say there's a mistake, Lord Gazamba.
Is this Sir Reginald?
Is it so that I have heard that there are those that have maligned the noble and prestigious profession of Cavalier? Is that so?
Yep.
Yes!
We both have kind of slandered it here a bit too
How
much.
is
Yep.
this possible? How we
haven't
need
had
to
you on yet
sacrifice
to
to
correct
defend
us.
the lands, the peasants. We fight the wars of our liege lords.
Do
We
you
take
see
these
what
injuries
happens
on our
when the
bodies.
plebeians and the peasants and others rule
And
the
yet
day?
they speak ill. I would ask that they prove it with lance and sword. How dare they?
Uh-oh. Yep.
How dare they?
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, Tim!
Yeah.
I will see you next week.
You gonna keep that on all night?
Keep what on?
Oh, okay. So
Are you
Reginald,
sure it's me?
Cannibal just said. So
Oh,
Reginald,
look at
didn't you
that.
get knocked on your ass at the Grand Joust by Josh Death Dealer?
I believe you're speaking to some fictitious character named Reginald.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh
I
my!
am no fiction, sir.
Oh my gosh, man, that is
Well,
so
he called
awesome.
you sir. That's good. Yeah. Mhm.
It was only a polite sir. It wasn't real.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mhm. Awesome.
Oh, that was great,
love that
dude.
chainmail.
Wow,
It
it's
looks
gotta
so
be
cool
hot,
with that
man.
helmet. Yep.
That has got to be
Well,
hot.
I'm only really sporting the shoulders, the neck and up
Okay.
armor.
Mhm.
But have you talked about
Have
the
we gotten
real
there?
Cavalier?
The what?
No, not much.
We have
The
not.
real Cavalier?
No, not much.
No, what do you mean the real Cavalier?
The Unearthed Arcana?
No, we haven't even gotten there
The
yet.
Unearthed Arcana one.
We barely
Yes.
got there yet.
Yes,
so,
we
yeah.
haven't gotten there yet.
We mentioned it, but that's it.
Yes. So, also note below our pictures, below Anna and Tim's pictures, is every portrait from Portrait Workshop that I've created that is a Cavalier class or subclass in the campaign. Scrolling through, a lot of them you'll remember from the Joust. A lot of them are PCs or NPCs. So every single one that's of those 4 classes that we discussed is scrolling through there as well. So you see that. Lorik has it. Yeah, Lorik has a better helm, but there, Troy, I agree. But I think that one looks pretty comfortable according to Tim there. Yeah, very very nicely done too. So.
Well, I like this. When I ordered it and it arrived on the box, it said not fragile.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is
Not
crazy.
fragile.
That is
so cool.
crazy.
Yep.
So, according to this Dragon 72 Cavalier, it's a subclass of fighter like Paladin is. All right? Just note that. Now note some other things. Here's Here's the chivalric code. And it says the virtues are liberality, glory, courtesy, honor, unselfishness, bravery, good faith, and pride. I can live with all those. There's no problem with any of them. None at all. And then the code: noble service willingly rendered, defense of any charge unto death. They go on: honor to all above your station, right? Courtesy to all ladies. There you go. Battle is the test of manhood. I'm skipping around a little bit. Personal glory above all in battle. Scorn for those who are lowly and ignoble. I like that one. Was Tim fighting the French? You don't want to know.
Well, I will say it can be perceived as scorn, but they're being treated appropriately so that they don't feel awkward. If you treat them too kindly, they feel very out of place and awkward. So you should treat them appropriately, or they will be uncomfortable, and we don't want them to be uncomfortable. So that is why it appears that there is scorn.
Yeah. So there. Yes. It's too bad. It's too bad we don't have the Black Knight on to have you discuss things, theology, thought processes with the Black Knight. That would have been pretty hysterical. Mm-hmm. And they say death before dishonor, death to all who oppose the cause. So, all right, this is like a starting point for the class. We ran with it and liked what was put in, and we're looking forward to Unearthed Arcana. Really, truly, I was looking forward to it. And when we got it completely, they changed things around like crazy.
It finally fixed all the problems.
So, in this book, I thought I did up the UA, but maybe I didn't, just to show, because of my disdain for it. Oh, here it is. So they come up with this chart, and there's no limit change to what the weapons can be. It's these weapons or none at all. Right? So you get plus to hit with a lance, plus to hit with a broadsword, or the scimitar. Oh, thank you. Plus to hit with a horseman's mace, flail, or military pick. Okay, and then it rotates.
Noble and dignified weapons, of course. Noble and dignified.
I understand that.
You don't want to shame your family by running around with a lowborn sort of weapon, a little cleaver. I mean, really.
Yes. But what about a spear or a javelin or...
Yes, a lance. A javelin is authorized, of course.
Yes. Well, I don't see that according to the Unearthed Arcana version, Tim.
Oh, no, there's a javelin there for sure.
Yep. So...
It's just not a weapon of choice.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. So what they have done here is said, in order to get the pluses now, you must have these weapons as your weapons of choice. And there is no specialization here. They move the specialization to the fighter, and then they put this weapons of choice system in.
Absolutely. We should be superior and better than the mere fighter thugs that they are.
Yes. But the problem with this is you don't ever get better than the fighter, because the fighter...
How dare you?
The fighter can double specialize at 3rd level. Right, and you don't get +3 to hit ever with the broadsword, longsword, or scimitar ever. So
with my stalwartness, superior equipment, and strength of heart, I need not their piddly advantages, and that is the point.
Understood. Perfect timing.
Yeah. Yep. We got the discussion going here. That's awesome.
Combine that with this little tidbit that really drove us all crazy. And does Tim own a shrubbery? Yes, Tim. He's also been Tim the Enchanter multiple times too.
Yes, of course.
Yes, he owns a shrubbery. Many.
I actually made a character, Fred Shrubber.
Yes, you did. Here comes the biggest bone of contention of all. The kumquat shrub. Oh, Gary, come on, man. That's not funny. Oh, look at that. I just put 3 things on at once. So we get to this little blurb in Unearthed Arcana. The paladin, It's not the class that it's been in the player's handbook. It's gone. The paladin is no longer considered a subclass of the fighter, but is a subclass of the cavalier. So you got to have all these high prime requisites now, and now you got to have a high 17 charisma, and you got to follow all this cavalierish stuff, right? You got to follow all that. Oh,
It
thanks,
moved
Bill.
more towards becoming a subclass of paladin than its fighter roots.
It became a cavalier subclass. So a couple things happen. In Unearthed Arcana 72, cavalier is a subclass of fighter. In Unearthed Arcana, it is its own class, separate from fighter, and they've removed paladin from fighter and put it in under cavalier. Now, yeah, it probably should be the other way around, Glendale. What do you do with all the characters that are old school fighters? We have our dilemma number 1 of the night.
Well, I have one thing to say, Jay.
Yes.
It's a terrible rule. Paladins should not be cavaliers.
I agree 100%. But we weren't so smart back in 1985. So a lot of our cavalier paladins got converted. Or all the brand new paladins for about a 5 to 7 year period were all cavalier paladins because of this new rule.
I will say, though, we did not follow the strictures of the cavalier to include scorning commoners. See,
Right.
That's the issue, because to be a cavalier, you got to scorn commoners, but scorning commoners and being overly prideful and all that is antithetical to a true paladin.
Yep. So I want to put out a point here. Scottish Jeff says paladin should fall under cleric. If you go to the original, what's the book that Eric Boyd wrote for Forgotten Realms?
Bastion of Faith?
No. All the deities.
Okay.
Not powers and pantheons. The first one, the monster, whatever the main book is. Not the demi-human one, but there's its own. There's another class in there. It's called a crusader. It's a hybrid cleric / fighter, and we use that too. But that wouldn't, and that would be, it's a good.
Yeah, that's a good mix, but I wouldn't say paladin should be a subclass of cleric, because they're not necessarily as learned as a cleric.
Yeah, I like them just because of the. So we have our dilemma. All of all the Winchesters in this era are all cavalier paladins. All of them. Elaine, Andrea, Emerson, Elijah. They're all cavalier paladins. And that's where we are at this point in the game. The old school fighter paladins, Galalad, yours, right? David Gradavis, Marcos, all stayed, never converted, and we said they're grandfathered in at this point. And we're thinking to ourselves, what next, right? So this is where we're stuck at this point. We're also stuck on which of these two classes to use. And for a while, we went to the Unearthed Arcana one because, that's the published official source book, right? So we're here. Now, here's another thing. Fighter class in Unearthed Arcana, Paladin class in Unearthed Arcana is human only. In the Player's Handbook First Edition, it's human only. Now half-elves can be paladins, right? So all of a sudden you can have half-elves and humans as paladin cavaliers, which was kind of a little bit of a unique switch too. And it's all over the place. So we're like messed up because when you have, and this is what happens with edition changes. If you want to keep your campaign going with the characters you have, you got all sorts of problems now with rules and stuff. And we just don't know what to do. So we tried a whole bunch of things out. We tried out Cavalier Paladins. We tried out Cavaliers from Unearthed Arcana. And over time, we decided to have two types of Cavaliers. We had the Eastern Cavalier, which is kind of like those that came from the Great Kingdom, Iron Lake side, where the Dragon 72 style, and those over in the Sheldamar and whatever Wild Coast and Greyhawk are the Arcana version. That's what we did for what, Tim? How many years? 5 to 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So compromises are trying here. Note some other things with this table. These tables coming up. You want to talk about the craziest bow specialists in the world? Look at that Cavalier Archer crossbow specialist table down there. 5 arrows around at 16th level. Holy schmolies, right? I don't feel like swearing tonight, everyone. I'm just being, so that's crazy.
So 16th level, have they really made it that far?
Britomart, 16th level Cavalier.
There are people that can actually shoot that fast.
With a longbow.
No, not a longbow, because longbows don't shoot that fast.
I know, but that's with a longbow.
Right, I would never allow that with a longbow.
Right, so we made that right off the top. We said...
Or I'd never let it with a longbow and have longbow ranges. They could only shoot...
So Dragon, no, I'm going to tell you this. So we only ever went to 2nd edition and hybridized 1st and 2nd, and I never went beyond that, right? So the answer to that is no. We're trying to figure out what works in our game. And with the miniature style and with the way we play and the way people like their characters in RP, just stuff doesn't make sense at this point. The Paladin Cavalier just doesn't, it's like, it's not fun. It is not. I mean, they're so stuffy shirt types. You know how Andre is, right, Tim? Or right, whoever I'm talking to, Reginald? Crow the Elf could fire 6 arrows per round. Yes, he could. Yes, he could. And so could that guy with the one hand shoot 6 crossbow bolts around, too, with his repeating crossbow and Hawk the Slayer. Snooty calves.
Anything's possible with stop motion photography.
Yes. Also, in the original Unearthed Arcana and in Dragon 72, for some bizarre reason, Cavaliers have to be good alignment first. But then they can slip from good to neutral or even to evil, and it talks about them. And I never understood why. So why is that?
I think it's because the literature shows they're being raised with good principles and, in their upbringing and their training, because they're defending something and fighting for something and taught the right rules. But then when they get out in the world, they just start getting tempted and start slipping. They start getting selfish.
That's a way to look at it. But I also see it as a way, because originally in D&D there was only law and chaos, and because they stayed away from good and evil. And then when the AD&D came out, good and evil, they shifted focus to good and evil and law and chaos. And I see that the knight or the Cavalier, when they created the class, it was the good and evil that they kind of said, okay, of course it needs to be a good one. But then they probably shifted focus and realized, no, the Cavalier class is much more interesting if it works in meaning they need to be lawful. They need to follow a code. They need to be true to that word, whatever, but they don't need to be good, meaning the Hell Knights is a kind of was probably a concept back then too, that they needed to follow the orderly combat. That's the thing, but they don't need to fight for good. They can fight for evil as well as good. It's the order and law and hold true to your word that is the principle, so to speak. I think that's how I interpreted back then, that it was kind of that's the change came from.
So we get to whatever year I go to visit Tim up in Watertown, New York, whenever that was, and with some other things. We were doing our single one-on-one adventuring. And I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't the Cavalier could be such a badass class? Why can't there be a guy who's chaotic neutral running around causing trouble and just having his own code as a Cavalier? That would be really crazy tough. Hence Lord Page appears, right? And we all know Lord
Dastardly fiend.
Yes. So I is immediately of the idea that I don't like this good only. I think it's great for all alignments. Why can't there be evil Cavaliers of evil lords or Cavaliers that are in the Great Kingdom, or Cavaliers that are pre Sergeant that are in the Horn Society or wherever, So a Cavalier Hexter, exactly. I mean, I just
that they start out as idealistic. They have all these ideals and they're idealistic, and they start out, they're going to change the world for better. And then they find out, no, that's not going to happen. And it's a little bit, some people react to that disappointment different than others, and so they They decide, you know what, I'm just going to grab what I can get because I don't, this is not going to work out for me otherwise. So that's how they go.
Yeah, but
I
they don't all have to be fallen, Tim. That's a fallen
no,
character.
no, well, no,
Yeah.
not a Cavalier. You're
Yeah.
not falling if you just change your alignment. You still have to. Well, the thing is, we don't really do the societal, anthropological side of it, where everyone is, it's all about show. It's all about face. How you look. It's not about really what you do.
Right.
It's how you appear. And so
Yeah.
you have all these evil people that are trying to appear like they're, good in front of people at these tournaments, but they may not be good. I think that's.
I thought more of the noble background and all. But we solve that problem too, and Bill helps us solve that problem. We'll get to the Saxon at the end of the end. So we're all over the place here in the late '80s, early '90s with classes and which class are we using and where are paladins, and second edition comes out, and once again,
Yeah.
I go to my favorite RPG of all time, Baldur's Gate 2. And that comes out and they have these great subclasses in it, and I was like, this is what I want. This is cool. And you don't need the kit books, but to note that I want to create some subclasses of Paladin, but I don't want them to be Cavalier subclasses. I want to be fighter subclasses. And you all know my Inquisitor, my Undead Hunter. And the Inquisitor is basically almost ripped off from Baldur's Gate 2 with some minor changes. But I don't want to be Cavaliers. I want them to go back to being regular fighters. So at some point here in the 90s, we decide that's it. You can be either. For Paladin, you can decide if you want to be that noble birth, uppity, snooty Cavalier Paladin, or you can be the fighter Paladin or from the original first edition.
The true Paladin.
Right, the true Paladin. We have both. So that stays to this day. There, and if you notice on my sheet that if you haven't seen it, on my sheet with all the classes, Paladin is down twice, and I don't know why I have Mountain Dwarf. I must have used this in the dwarf discussion. All right. So as you can see here, when you come up here, all right, you got Paladin FTR and then you got Paladin CV. So there you go. So it's on here twice. Now note, I still hold the half elf allowed in the Paladin Cavalier because that's what's in, and then the fighter Paladin's human only. So there you go. So we allow both of them. 5-to-1 ratio of new characters are fighter Paladins in the game. I think the last Cavalier Paladin we had was, what do you think, Bill? Hessler of Dallas was probably one of the last ones, and that is Herbie. Hessler was in the joust, right? So he's like 8th level now. Yeah. And he lost in the semifinals, right? To he lost to Shorewin in the semifinals, and that was where I think that was one of the last ones. So we're going back to, there hasn't been one in 15 years because I think he's probably 15 years old. So fighter, yes, I agree, Obsidian. So and Tim, you agree with me? They're 100% too, right?
About fighter Paladins being
Paladins should be fighters for the most part.
Yes. Yeah. You have to get rid of the. You can't be a Cavalier without being kind of a snob. It's too much status. And presumptuousness to be a true humble paladin.
Oh yeah, and it is it's one of those where we get to that point where like that's it, that we need to get to. We're right there. The fighter paladin is the way to go. And for example, one of the characters I want this group named, Anna, before we start this time.
Okay.
The group in 2 weeks. So we have a paladin in the group. Stella Luna is playing Rose Rothschild. Okay, and there she is, and she is a paladin of Heronius. Right, Heronius, as you can see there. She's from Rushford and Keeland, and she's a good old-fashioned fighter paladin. Yay, always right with the world.
Huzzah.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. And yes,
I'll tell you, it is difficult to keep up with chat with this helmet on. I'll tell you that.
yes.
It
Thank you
does
very
affect
much,
my perception, but it also keeps my eyes
Psycho,
from being
and
critical.
welcome.
So,
I was just going to say, how would you think it would be to fight in a helmet like that?
Oh my gosh.
well, I've
Yeah.
instituted perception and dexterity penalties for greater helms. However, it reduces the crit intensity when your head's hit.
Yeah.
So this would be like 4 low. If you got hit in the head with a crit, it would reduce it by 4 steps, 4 levels.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and we all
That
know
was the intent. Yeah.
we all know how crazy Tim's critical hit tables are, because you've seen how many characters at Blue Box. I won't even use them in our stream. Now Tim used them in his barbarian one.
Yes.
So
well, it saved somebody today. There was like a major crit today that saved the day.
yes, but it could be the other way around too sometimes.
Sure, it could.
So once again, there's Cannon Fire Discord, Virtual Greyhawk Con Discord, and if you want Greyhawk Online Discord, you just go to the Greyhawk Online front page on the web, and the Discord link is there too. Awesome, good to see that. So Cavaliers overall, we get to a point where, and Tim is different because my character Dervilia in his campaign in his city state is the Unearthed Arcana version of the Cavalier. I'm fine with that. Tim's DMing it. I don't want to ever see that Cavalier again. I like the flexibility. I've allowed some other weapons in. For example, Marcus, Bill's character, uses spear. It's not even on the list. If there's a reason it makes sense, so be it. So we have taken that Unearthed Arcana Cavalier and wiped it. Now, most of them are converted over, okay, to, if they were using Unearthed Arcana version, they have converted over back to the Dragon 72 version. And that's where we are to this day, is the Dragon 72 version, with these exceptions, okay? And I know I wanted to discuss this as some things that are changed. Missile weapons. There will never be a missile weaponeer in the game that gets more than 3 hours per 3 or more hours per round, with one class exception, Len Lekofka's Archer. The Archer is our mainstay of the greatest missile firing class in our campaign, as Anna will soon find out on Saturday night. Right, Anna?
Yep.
So once again, I got these character sheets all printed. Nira of House Vreston. Multi-class Archer Thief.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting combination. Yeah.
Yes, and there you go. And she will be kind of a jack of all trades character, but Anna will be playing with Ed Greenwood. Can't wait. Yes, I said that for anyone new to the stream, with Ed Greenwood playing. It's still hard to believe that's going to happen. But at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you all the nice things that Ed has said about what's going on, and it's really humbling. Really, really cool. So the Archer is the mainstay weapon ranged dealer in our game. So I've taken away the most crossbow specialists and missile specialists from Cavaliers or fighters who can take those specializations too. 2 shots is max around. What do you think on that, Tim? I know what Ed is playing yet. Yes, Roland. Roland T. Bard. I know what he's playing, and I haven't. I've printed it out. Have I printed it out? Yes, I have it right here printed. I'm saving that for the end of the show. Yes, we know what he's playing. Okay, Tim.
After looking at Saracen archery and seeing how fast they fire, I do let specialized fighters fire that rate with a short bow, because it's only relevant within 30 feet. Really, after that, it's not that relevant. They're good at trick shots up close. And then if they want to use a long bow, they have to reduce it to short bow. Like if they want to fire that fast, you're going to have to fire it
within 30
short bow damage, because I do longbows 1 to 8. And so short bow damage, short bow ranges, because you're not doing the full draw. The whole longbow draw is way different than any other bow.
Right.
So I do allow that. but the archer is superior. What happened?
Dragon Silver of Selene said, "Can you imagine if I cast heat metal on you right now?"
Yeah, well, I could get the helmet off fast, but then I'd be driving over to his house.
That's a good one.
He wouldn't cast heat metal.
And I think a lot of people don't know that if you look at the errata in the original Dungeon Master's Guide for the spell Heat Metal in 1E, 2E, if the metal is magical, they get a saving throw. A lot of people don't know
that. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that totally makes sense. If it's non-magic, it should work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it should work. Yeah.
So some other changes. They are not mindless fighters. Now, there are certain things in this, and they're in this article. And thank you for those that shared this with me. But things we have done from day one. They are not immune to illusions and mind-affecting spells. It's not. That makes no sense. I'm okay with the fear immunity. I'm okay with them being immune to the fear spell. All right, I'll live with that. But they're not immune to illusions, 90% mind-affecting spells. We allow a save of +2. That's it. No immunity. The immunity's crazy. What do you think, Tim?
They don't have any magical powers that would make them thus.
Exactly. Anna, you good with that? Immune to
Well, immunities have been part of the game forever, so to speak. There's certain creatures' immunity. But the interesting thing is that in early edition, immunity really meant immunity, meaning you were immune. The attacks didn't work. The immunity from 3rd edition and onwards, immunity became like a resistance.
Mm-hmm.
You had a DC, and if the opponent, the more powerful the opponent were, the less the immunity meant, so to speak. So it went from being an absolute to become a relative thing. And therefore, I think immunities, you can have way more immunities because there is ways around it. So you can be overpowered in later editions. In early editions, if you were immune, period.
Right. But here's where this splitting hairs comes. When they say immune to mind affecting, oh, now I'm immune to the mirror image spell. Now I'm immune to invisibility spell. That's mind affecting, and it goes on and on. And
exactly. And mind affecting is one of these weird things to have in early editions, but in later editions, you simply say you can be resistant towards certain types of magic.
Yeah.
And mind affecting is not a type of magic, but you can be evocations, conjurations, enchantments. That will be like you will have a resistance versus enchantment magic.
Right.
And that will be like a plus on your saving throw or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think mirror image is mind effect. I think it charms, fear.
Yeah. But it should be enchantment. Then it's simple. If the spell is the school of the spell enchantment, then it kicks in.
They're trying to say these people are so willful that they will hold to the last and die where they stand. Yeah. Therefore, they can't be tricked into surrendering or running or doing something, and so that's why they were saying that before.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing.
It's too easy to bend it.
Exactly. I think that's good because these kind of things that I cast a spell and then all of a sudden you're my best friend or compulsions and stuff like that. I don't use them often in my games and I kind of don't like them much. They're tricky and kind of weird, but sometimes they can be fun, but it's kind of tricky. So yeah.
This is our main Bible out of all the 15 or 20 books down there. Classes and Races book. Classes and Races book. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, please. Please, Sir Reginald. I'm sorry on that loss in the first round.
Yeah. But I think that when you deal with magic that way, it's much better to have terms that are clearly defined, so to speak. So instead of having mind affecting magic, which could be so broad and so kind of iffy term, you say that you have a resistance version in enchantment magic, period. And then make sure that spell schools are such a cool thing that use that mechanics because it's already in the game. And there's no discussion. I'm casting a spell that's enchantment, therefore whatever creature has a. So I think that use the systems that are already built in. And I think the spell schools is a feature in the game that is underutilized. They can use that for way more, for different types of you can suppress certain types of magic, enhance it, resist it, tweak it, and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So here, it's all good, man. It's all good,
Yeah.
Sparky. So under saving throws, and this is the Dragon 72 version. Are you ready for this? 90% unlikely to have an effect on a Cavalier character. Thus, such powers are you ready on this list: beguilement, charm, domination, hold persons. No, kid, don't work. Hypnosis, magic jar, possession, sonic mind blast, sleep, suggestion, etc., unlikely to have any effect. 90% probability of success, then entitled to a save. Now, gone. So that's just insane. There's no reason. Now we give them the +2 save versus mind affecting, whereas they may have a little bit more of a iron mind type thought later on that you see. But it's just like that's just. Can you imagine this character running around hacking things on a horse or with a lance, and your clerics can't cast hold person on him? Why? I mean, that whole person's basically like a physical hold, It's like, it's just like,
I don't see hold as mind affecting at all.
Right.
It's kind of that's because then that would kind of make the spell weird, so to speak. So
got to use some common sense to balance the class, because if you don't, it's not going to be any fun.
It was part of the early, meaning it was a game system very much evolving back then too. But I'm always been surprised that spell schools have been underutilized, because there you have the different classifications of spells, and enchantments are where they fall under. So, and you even have a charm sub school under enchantment. So you can say that spells that have the charm sub school, they will be, the Cavalier or Paladins would not be affected by them as easily or something. And you can put a resistance version. So
yeah, you can't cast hold person on a horse. You can cast hold monster on a horse if you want to waste a 5th level spell on a horse.
Yeah, and then you have another thing, meaning person.
He'll be right back. He's probably getting out of it.
Yeah. A person is also one of these kind of terms that are ambiguous. What is a person or not?
They define a person as a human, demi-human, or humanoid up to a certain hit die.
Yeah, but say that every humanoid with intelligence more than 10 or more than 5 is affected. Or
no, that's not true, because
I know it's not, but I think that spells should be clearly defined in terms that way. Then it will be easier to simply say you're affected, you're not, so to speak.
That does make sense.
Instead of using ambiguous terms, when they have good terms built into the game system, use them.
Right, but that is the charm of that's the charm of first edition, Annie. You had to guess a lot.
It is, and to some degree they fixed some of that in 3rd edition, and then I'm sure they introduced some other mock-ups that was.
That's a different helm.
Wrong.
Yeah. I switched to my casual helmet.
That's Minnie. She's sleeping. That's my dog.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So that was gone. Some other things. The horsemanship thing descriptions in here is really cool. Vaulting into onto your horse and saddle, urging to greater speed, picking out better mounts, riding certain air-based ones, hippogriffs, Pegasus, griffins, and even dragons and unicorns. That was pretty cool. But improving your abilities too, we kind of limited that. You can do it still, but here's the problem. I hate this. So say you have 17 strength. Well, then you roll your percentile dice to see how close you go up to the next one. Well, everyone always rolls 95 or 90.
Of course. If you don't look at them, they roll very, very high.
So I'm like, that's it. /50 is as high as you can start with. And that was that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because
did you have progression after that so that you can increase your?
Oh yeah, you roll 2 die 10 each level as you go up, right? So say you had 1650 in con, and you're training each level. You roll 2 die 10, 2 die 10 each level up to 10th, and so you usually gain a whole point over that realm because your average is between 9 and 11 on the.
But that was only the. Did fighters do that? Rangers?
Just strength, con, and dex from Cavaliers.
Okay.
Yep.
That is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
that fighters didn't have, despite the fact that fighters paid more XP.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so there is some discrepancies here but the
Yeah.
horsemanship is
But
good.
other classes have that too, meaning there are other classes, meaning that have way more efficiency per, like thieves, for instance. They had the best XP table ever. So
And
per
druids are the
XP,
best.
exactly. Yeah. Meaning per
Crazy.
XP, they got way more bang for the buck, so to speak,
Yeah.
than other classes. So yeah.
So improving abilities we kept. The evil cavaliers right off the bat I love. So that's in there. Hospitality. They're not mindless chargers into a fight. That just doesn't make sense. They will target. They want to test themselves. That's different
Yeah.
than charging into a fight while the rest of your group is talking it over. You got to use some common sense here, right?
If their liege lord says to do it, they'll do it.
That's different. That's
Right.
it. That's an order.
Yeah.
But in an adventuring
I
party,
agree with you.
yeah, an adventuring party, damn the torpedoes usually gets everyone killed.
Unless they're stupid.
Well, yes, and there are stupid cavaliers too, because they don't. Yeah, I agree. Or chaotic stupid cavaliers. I mean, there's all sorts of types of
So
stupid.
could they be chaotic in alignment too?
Absolutely.
Oh, that is interesting. So they were not seen to out of necessity to they could lose their class if they didn't hold their word.
Because we have in our game, cavaliers can be in the alignment. I'm going to tell you why. I see the cavalier as fighters can be in the alignment. The cavalier as there's a code, and the code may be your own. The example is at the end of the joust when Sir Vargren the Unmerciful came. And he was told not to come, and he showed up, and then started challenging people. Took the one out, said who's next, and all that. I mean, how chaotic neutral can you get, right? He's just out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I could have seen that lawful evil.
No,
meaning he had promised to come back and screw up them, and then he did.
Sure, Jay's a merciful DM. I don't see that as necessarily evil. Lord Page is chaotic neutral. He's beholden to no one but himself, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Self-made man.
Self-made man. And so I see chaotic neutral having a place in the world of, and I know in like later editions they say, oh, everyone who's chaotic neutral is insane. That's just taking it too far.
It's the one that can't make up their mind. It will be one way 1 second, and then one way the other second. So yeah,
chaotic neutral would be more like they'd have rules they live by, but they would be more like, hey, we don't, we're not going to, debauch and pillage people, but we're going to raid where we want to raid. And
if you come on our land, we're going to take your stuff. If you're a merchant,
yeah, we're going to take your stuff and all that. So they're not necessarily chaotic evil. They won't sell them to slavery, but they may they're more like total freedom. Total freedom to do whatever.
Exactly, total freedom to do whatever I want whenever I want. Yeah.
Yeah, but they may, but
they have some moral.
They just choose not to be a.
And they don't kind of like to deal out pain for its own sake. So
no, they're not sadists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, chaotic evil would just do it to get a laugh or whatever.
And chaotic evil cavaliers are good too. I have no problem with those. I mean, there's nothing scarier.
Chaotic cavaliers are good. What?
Huh?
Well, chaotic evil.
I'm just
now.
Yeah.
They're excellent to have as bad guys.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're back to so we should skip the alignment discussion.
Yes,
I was just curious.
Morals and ethics is a place that's hard to go between real life and fantasy.
Yes, yeah, you have to simplify
you can't take real world rules and apply it to fantasy.
No, and you can use different methods to do it in your game. The important thing is that it suits your table and your players. That's the key. Yeah.
So where we are in this point in the discussion, we have the Cavalier from Dragon 72 with some changes, and we have the Paladin Cavalier is allowed, but hasn't been played in a while. Everyone goes back to the Fighter Paladin, which is where we like it. Here is a difference between the Cavalier Paladin and the Fighter Paladin. I removed the protection from evil personal on the Cavalier Paladin. Only the Fighter Paladin gets it. Okay? Armor changes and stuff. I just see it as an advantage of the humbleness of the lawful good Cavalier, standard Fighter Paladin. Right?
I concur.
Okay, thank you. The Fighter Paladin can fight with anything. any weapon, maybe a weapon of its deity, maybe something they find useful. Whereas the Cavalier Paladin takes the lance and takes all the weapons on mounted horseback, and may take a crossbow or short bow or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do a show on alignment. Trust me, I don't want to go there. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do one on ethics
Yeah.
and morals and about why Dark Elves are
No,
all
it's
bad
kind
and
of
all
yeah.
that.
That's kind of
What?
that's tricky. Yeah.
But they're not. So it's just. But we're not going
What?
there. So we have those two right now. Now we're going to add two more. Any question? All right. So questions so far on the Cavalier itself between 72 and Unearthed Arcana. And if you want to discuss this corrected Cavalier, which most of the stuff in here I agree with, not all of it, but we pre-corrected it before. I never even looked at this article until today. So, yep. Sorry with Druids ending with alignment. Well, that may not be a good idea about Moku. Yeah, alignment is so nebulous, and it's a game mechanic. And if you take it beyond that to morals, you're going to end up with a mess of a discussion. I agree 100%.
Druids. I mean, the reason Druids are that way is because they were the fair, impartial, people that would solve problems in their culture, in their real one. So people go to them. They know they're going to be treated fairly, neutrally. It's not like they're, well, I agree with these guys' philosophy over you. It's, you know what I mean? So they try to maintain a balance and be fair.
Yep. Thank you, Rich. Way too many pit traps for people to fall into. I agree 100%. So here's some good things. If you are a miniatures player like we are, there's nothing cooler than mounted miniatures, right? There is nothing cooler than having a mounted miniature out on the table. They're beautiful looking. They're just nice. And you saw we had 17 of them out there. Plus, you can have fighters that take lance, and you can have paladin fighters, and you can have all sorts of. But the Cavalier is the jouster par excellence, right? And we know that. And you saw the advantage that Cavaliers have in jousting over the other classes in that Grand Joust. If you have not watched the Grand Joust, it's on YouTube. It's in my channel on YouTube. It's awesome. It was so much fun.
Awesome show. Yeah.
It was fun.
It was a blast, and I look forward to doing it again. Maybe next GaryCon next year. We don't want to overdo it, of course. And Von Moku's character, Matthew Barnabas, won. He was the 9th seed, and he won. So it was a.
And he did so good playing that poultice.
Yes.
Because I usually hate that kind of Foldus, but he did so good. I was like, I don't know, I'm coming around. I like the way he played it.
And thank you for all those compliments there. But here, as you can see, like I said, mounted miniatures are and it's not that hard to use them in D&D with miniatures rules and ranges. I don't know about, and there's an up view of. I'm sorry, that's not a great picture of the jousting area. I don't know if it's that smart to use them. I don't know how VTTs work, and if it would be better to use. I did the same picture again, Jay. Jeez, what do you think? How about VTTs? Are they capable of being used in a VTT? I just don't know. I'm putting up bad pictures. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this and it's really small.
You can do a justice, so to speak, in a VTT. Yeah.
I mean, in a dungeon, in a VTT, having mounted characters running around, is it easy?
Yeah, I think most of them can handle it fairly well. You can put a horse token in there and the character token on top, or you can have one token when they're mounted, and then you just put another token in there when they're not. So I think most VTTs can handle that easy.
Okay. Thank you very much there, Crazy Cyber. Now, Dragon Silverleaf of Selene asked, this picture here, Gamescape 3D by request, we asked them to make the STLs for us and so they did all the STL fires for the fencing.
That looks cooler than a VTT.
Yeah, and Bill the Master Crafter, Sashar Scorn, all these prints are all 3D prints, and all these miniatures you see right here, majority of them are sponsored Reaper miniatures. Some of them are Fire and Ice figures, but a majority of them are Reaper miniatures. And Bill painted 17 miniatures. You see the barn area, the stables behind that. I believe that is an Infinite Dimensions and other sponsors print, and then you have all the other stuff associated with it. But a lot of it was donated. The STLs were donated and created just by request for us, and then Bill went to town on creating everything. So, but I don't have a problem with bringing a horse outside where I used to, right, Tim? I used to have a serious problem with it.
Yes, he used to treat horses like the red shirts.
Yes, I did. Here's a funny story that drives Tim crazy to this day, and Bill, if he's on, will laugh about it. Yep, you still do. All right, so I killed the horse again. It was fun. I like killing horses. Sir Reginald, this has got to be 20 years ago, is charging someone on his horse. He goes to fight a tyrant fog zombie, and they have this stinking cloud of 5-foot radius around them. And he goes and he charges that thing and hits it. That stinking cloud. I made his horse save versus the stinking cloud too. Now he made it, but his horse failed. The horse went down and he got launched off. Right?
I don't see what's funny.
Horses are not immune to spell effects like fireballs and whatever else. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And that's one of the
Thank
things
you.
that that
go ahead,
I'm
Anna,
kind
go.
of curious about. Why didn't more people attack the horse in combat, so to speak? Because horse is the softer target than
It was dishonorable.
the person on it. I guess it was dishonorable, and I guess one other reason is that horse was so valuable that you wanted them
Yeah.
as loot, so to speak,
think-
afterwards.
I think they did attack horses, but I just, the knights charge is all these knights getting online stirrup to stirrup, and then when they charge, they all press together. So they're
Yeah.
this mass.
Mhm.
So nobody's getting a shot off. And those
They
lances are
try to
big
run out of
things
the way,
there.
so to
Yeah.
speak.
And yeah, you got to get out of the
Yeah.
way or just
Mhm.
take it because they're just
Yeah.
going to run over you. But when we did the last Dark Hand, we did have a horse get taken out by the
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
back the horse.
So, I am not a fan of having your entire party mounted fighting outside. I think that's not what D&D is about. But I am starting to soften a little bit now that we have all these miniatures and stuff on, letting the Cavalier
You're old
run
school. You're so old school. You
Yes.
yeah. Mhm.
around. Yeah, absolutely.
Moving him more out of school, it's kind
Well,
of it's
yeah.
awesome to have kind of combat that is more kind of flexible and move around and flying and well,
Yeah.
If
you've had
you
it
do more
many,
outdoor stuff.
Yes.
yeah. Meaning, imagine you
What's up,
have
Derek and Chroma?
the party caught out on the big field like the plain and it's grass, and there's a dragon coming flying in. Meaning that's a huge advantage, and all of a sudden the odds are very, very different compared to meeting a dragon in his lair when he can't fly or anything.
Yeah. But listen, if you're on a Cavalier and you charge a dragon on a horse, your horse is dead. That breath's going to kill it.
Oh yeah.
They're going to kill it
Yep.
before, and none of
Yeah.
this random roll shit. Sorry, there I swore about whether it's going to breathe or not. Ain't going to breathe, and it's not going to take a lance charge.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
gonna-
it's not going to. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely going to breathe. It's going to
And-
definitely toast the horse unless it has horseshoes of fire resistance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Did snatch attacks were a thing in first, second edition? I can't remember it was.
Why attack?
Snatch attacks? Like dragons could snatch someone.
Oh, we've never done that because especially with minis and terrain, it's
That's
tough
true,
to
yeah.
do.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
listen, dragons flying around with archers in the game don't last long because missiles and spellcasters are blasting them. Because anything flying in the air is subject to a fireball or magic missiles or lightning bolts, and
Unless
they're
they
just
fly map of
targets.
the earth, then they,
Yeah.
then they have a-
Exactly. That's what they do. They come in.
Yeah.
Well, they put like some cloudy
see how-
spell or something. Yeah.
If you, for all of you who played Hard in the Holes Part 2,
Yeah.
Puppet Dad and everyone else, you saw how I defended that little. There's something black in the Part 2 of it, in Carlos's
Yeah.
part, and how it was defended by the terrain. Because you know, if you're out in the open, you're just and that's one of the things, because you could have a flying around dragon like you do in the Lord of the Rings stuff, like the Nazgul, but you don't have you only have Gandalf as a spellcaster. In D&D, you have all these people all over, and archers and all sorts of crazy stuff that can do massive damage to it, and I think that's the difference. But yeah, a little bit of. But Cavalier, is viable. And so if you're playing old school and you're like, I hate Cavaliers, I understand that why. If you read them verbatim in those articles in the book, well, then I wouldn't play them that way either. Oh, they charge it immediately every time and there's no negotiation. Well, that's not the way they should be played. That's not the correct way for them to play.
And it's hard to be a Cavalier. I can't remember what are the stat requirements.
It's like 15 in strength, con, and dex.
Yeah, it's like if we rolled like I did the other day,
none of them.
Not going to be it.
Not a single person would roll.
No.
Because you remember how disappointed Casey was? He was a point off in his Archer Ranger.
Oh, that was disappointing.
Oh,
it would have been okay to have it.
Yeah, I know, but it was, but it was funny. it made me laugh. It made me all
and he
warm
took
and fuzzy.
Commando, so
Yeah, it's just like Anna, right? Commando.
Yeah, so he can specialize with both.
So
yeah.
All right. 5e Cavalier horses can. Why can they deck save for no damage? Why can a horse deck save for no damage?
It's ridiculous. Well, you know why? Because too many people are like, "Don't kill the animals," and so they
do need love and money, Puppet. I automatically at least double their hit points, sometimes triple them. Not their breath weapon, but their hit points.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Lord Armor classes and up to wing and have wing buffet attacks and tail attacks and all that other stuff.
Wing buffet, tail.
Yeah.
Dragon's got
Gavilia,
made boosted
Gavilia's,
3rd edition. Yeah.
What level Cavalier is Gavilia?
13th.
And when I had those 4 dragons show up, you were like, "Oh, it was not a pleasant experience." You were not happy about it because that was going to be a legit problem if they went at you.
Absolutely. Dragons are nothing to be messed with. You got to make your dragons memorable. So if you have a question about the base Cavalier or the Cavalier Paladin, just feel free to ask it in chat. But we'll go on to the next really cool class that has popped up from the Cavalier. And if you've seen in my knighthoods, especially the Celine Susfarst Watch knighthood, there's a lot of Cavaliers in there. And I think that's the way it should be in a lot of knighthoods. But a lot of question arises is this. Why would the Selenian knights be Cavaliers and not an elf-based Cavalier? Well, they may be emulating human society. They see the human Cavaliers are so powerful. Who knows the reason beyond it? But I still think there's a need for a elf-based Cavalier. And if we go to a really great article by a gentleman named Chris Booth, October 86, Dragon 114. And that is the Elven Cavalier. This is a class unto itself. So this is a subclass of Cavalier. So we've used this almost since the day this came out. It's not a very popular Cavalier in our game, but my guess is there's about a dozen. Listen to me, a dozen. I mean, some people have that many characters in their entire camp. A dozen out of 2,000 characters are probably Elven Cavaliers. There was an Elven Cavalier in the Joust, and that was Stella's character. Lady Israel was an Elven Cavalier, so she was not a true Cavalier. Tim, have you ever used an Elven Cavalier? I know Anna's played. Anna has Jossi Yisami in our campaign. You've never used the class, okay?
No.
All right.
I don't have a elven nobility sort of thing going on anywhere, so
okay.
They should be of rank or right?
They are. They tend to be gray elves in my campaign. And they tend to be from noble or lesser houses in my campaign, right?
Yeah.
So the Elven Cavalier comes from there. So what's the difference, you say? Well, Chris Booth looks at the Cavalier and says, this is the standard delivered Cavalier. Oh, I charge right away Cavalier. So he's already thinking that concept. But why would an elf do that? Probably they wouldn't, right? An elf would stay at range, pick your opponent apart a little bit, soften them up. I think that's where he was going in this article. So there are some changes, particularly they're not beholden to wearing that heavy plate armor. Remember, something I missed in the Cavalier, they finally go, well, why is plate mail 3 Field plate is now 2 and plate armor is 1. So they finally added those armor classes in 1E and made those, so that now full plate and shield is armor class 0. But the Elven Cavalier doesn't have to wear that at all. Elven Cavalier tends to want to wear Elven Chain or Chain, maneuverable armor where you have a higher movement rate. Right?
And they don't work out much.
What's that? Yeah.
And they don't work out
Yeah,
much.
exactly. So, yep. Cavalier always seems to die in Blue Box's game. Well, I think that blood, you know why? I think that's an effect of they're always fighting and getting critically hit. And Tim's critical hit tables are nasty.
No.
They're not dying from losing hit points down to 0. They're dying from critical hits.
That's not actually.
No?
They have gone down below.
Have they? Okay. Okay. I'm wrong then. You can correct me. That's fine. I deserve correction.
I'm correct. I'm just disagreeing.
Okay.
Yeah, crits happen and all that, but I think there's some tactical issues. Your frontline fighters are always more at risk, just like reality. If you're a boxer, you're going to get punched more than if you're a spectator, right?
Yeah, that's true. So, Siderin, good point. That complete book of elves, I haven't really utilized much in there, if anything. Elven plate. All right, so the Helm's Deep elves that show up look like they're wearing elven plate, which they aren't supposed to show up there anyway. That's like out of fictitious land. That doesn't happen, right?
No.
Anywhere in the books, that doesn't happen. But it looks like they have a plate on. But so what Chris Booth is trying to do, and which I agree on, he's redefined what an elven cavalier, a cavalier that's an elf is. This is a separate class. Now, one time we're splitting hairs. Cavaliers can be elves, okay, including dark elves. Elven Cavaliers can only be surface elves and only higher gray. You can't be Sylvan elf.
Right.
Higher gray only, and half of those. No dark. All right, there's the differentiation.
Yeah. Because Cavalier means you are horse. You're horsed, and generally noble or related to that sort of life. So,
yeah,
that's going to be a rarity. If you're living in the deep woods, you're not going to have a major cavalry sort of element.
Absolutely. They changed the weapons of choice around to short bow first because you can use it while mounted now, and you can also, it's a hit and run weapon for the most part. It's not super long range, and in the woods it makes sense because longbow is very difficult to use in the woods, right? In reality, then longsword dagger with a 2-weapon fighting style. Now, and Tim has explained, we have players in my campaign that always argue, why can't they go longsword, short sword? Longsword dagger is the fighting style that's determined in here. So I kind of stuck to that, but some guys have snuck it through. Tim, what do you think on that, on the 2-fisted weapon style, fighting style?
It has to do with the speed and weight and all that sort of stuff and closing. So there's not a lot of historical showing of 2 swords, and it's not because it's the secret that worked really good.
Right.
It's because they get in each other's way. Actually, it's very. In having tried it, I can tell you it gets in the way. You've got to be very particular, and so one of them becomes a parrying weapon, the other one becomes a primary, and then if you suddenly get real close to each other, you end up knifing each other.
Right. Okay.
So I think the dagger in longsword is fine. I think having a shield on a horse is a good idea.
Yeah.
There's
nothing to say they can't use shield. Right? Yeah, they use shield, but they can go. Yeah.
When the arrows are flying, chainmail is not the best against certain arrows at all. So I would definitely want to have a shield.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
True. And that gives you some other weapons. So this one is much more particular on the weaponry that you can use. And for the elf longsword, you get like a plus to hit with it. It makes total sense. And then you go and you have this table. Now, I've modified this in a lot, so these are not exact, okay? I made some changes to this, but they get their pluses to hit, and it scales. Short bow, then your longsword in your primary hand, and your secondary hand. These characters at 10th level do a lot of damage, because they get multiple attacks and they get a ton of pluses in both hands. They do a lot of damage. They tend to be less hit points than a Cavalier because elves have lower con, right? So most part they have -1 con, so their con tends to be lower, and their armor class isn't as good because they don't have a shield when they're fighting, and they are not using full plate, so their armor classes tend to be low. These characters take a beating in melee combat because of those two things. Tim?
And
Yeah.
I think elves, they're so long lived. I don't think they're big chargers into battle if they don't
Right.
need to. They see some problems that can be solved with some patience and some arrow shots, and I'm just gonna wait 5 years till they die out.
If they have the time.
Yeah, if they have the time, they'll be
Yeah.
like,
So we saw this as a good alternative if you want to play an Elven Cavalier, and so I am fine with it. No, they're not Paladins. They're the Elven Cavalier, separate. So once again, another class type. They don't get 2 every one till 9th. So that is another thing. Fighters, specialized Cavaliers, Barbarians are all getting multiple attacks quicker than they are. And that is, but they're fighting with 2 hands. So when they get to 9th and 10th level, that's when the damage really starts scrolling up. They're like +3/+3 in their primary. They're huge pluses with a short bow, and they get some decent pluses to hit and damage in their secondary hand even. So they are nasty damage dealers, but they take a lot of damage in return. And they have a code. I get to put the code down. I may not have put the code. It's separate. The Elven Cavalier code is a little different than the noble service, cheerfully rendered, courage and enterprise in the cause of worthy goal, dissolution before dishonor, make enemies and allies solely of those most worthy. Misdeeds are measured in lives. I like that one. Yeah, I like that one. Defense is the greatest test. All right. Archery is the finest point of honor.
Yeah.
Military politics exercise to good cause, courtesy to all, and there's a couple other ones. But misdeeds are measured in lives is one of my. I like that one the most. So it's a cool alternative class to try. And once again, that's Dragon 114, and I can always tell you what little changes and tweaks I made to that class. But I have no problem with people playing Elven Cavaliers in my campaign at all. So, and I know a lot of people have them. Alan has one, Walt has one, and like I said, Anna has a high level one. I have some NPCs that are those, and I think Tom has one. So, oh, cool, Michael. So, questions on the Elven Cavalier from that Anna. So I know you're going 5th edition, and what do they do at this point in 5th edition? Do they have knights? Do they have paladins? Is that where it is?
I don't think paladins they have, but the knights and the stuff have. I think it's not a class; it's a role in games. So to speak. Like a noble title, you can specialize in mounted combat. You can specialize in swords, lances, and stuff like that. So I think that's been the thing both from 3rd edition onwards, so to speak. I think there were various classes, 3rd party and others in 3rd edition too, because there were classes for everything in 3rd edition. But I've seen it, and I've certainly used it more and seen it not as a mechanics thing, but an in-game thing, meaning you were a fighter and you became a knight of something that was a noble title, and you could specialize in mounted combat and so on and so forth. So it was like a fighter that instead of going other ways was kind of it's part title and part specialization, so to speak. I think that's the general. But on the other hand, 3rd edition had so many weird classes, so there I'm sure you can find 10 different knights or some similar type styled classes too. So yeah, I think that's the key is how you use the class feature in your campaign, so to speak.
Michael, you missed it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
please.
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, Michael. Michael's talking about him in armor, and he missed it.
Okay,
So go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry, Anna. My apologies.
No, I was just going to say it depends on how you use the class feature. Is it
Yeah.
something that exists in game, or is it just a game mechanics thing? That depends on your play style, I
Well,
think. Which
I was gonna say, I think with Jay's campaign, because it's gone so long and there's so many characters, I think, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, there's sort of an implied extra duty, extra service, extra things that these noble people are taking care of. It's kind of like, running a business or whatever. They're not making money, but it's something that they're doing when they're not adventuring. So they have
Yes.
duties and functions in society and in their homes and in their families that aren't necessarily being role played, because we're only pulling them out when an incident occurs, kind of.
Exclamation drawing, Brian Sim. Exclamation
So I
drawing.
think it's important, if you are doing a campaign and you only got one of these, to really, really, if you're running their everyday lives, they have functions in society and boons that they're required to do by their liege lord, and expectations of noblesse oblige if somebody's being, they need help or something. So there's a whole level of societal complexity to having them, that if you're doing a group that just has the 4 characters that they play, that's a factor you should weave in there.
Feudalism and feudal obligations and stuff is a cool way to kind of keep track of things and kind of keep a hold of it. So when you're when you get a title, you also get a lot of obligations, and sometimes you get way more obligations than you get perks. So yeah.
Yes.
Once again,
Jay's
Romans,
about to find out.
5th edition is not my cup of tea there because of some of that stuff. So Michael Zudrak asked you, Tim, do you like Cavaliers or Barbarians more, the class?
I actually believe that there's a lot of similarities between them, in that they, depending on their culture, is that, personal honor is important. And fighting for your tribe or your liege lord they're big deals to those people. So there's a lot of overlap in their method of thought. It's just that one is more primitive than the other one. One is more in touch with nature, and the other one's more a fiber of society that's more civilized.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm going to answer that.
Good answer. So here's some places where you can have Cavaliers in your game. Champions. All right. So everyone knows that Shorewin in Blue Box was the squire of, in my campaign, Sir Harn, the champion of the county of Ulick. So he is riding around on his horse with his heraldry that you've seen all over the place, and he is basically the called on defender of the lands. Good place to put a Cavalier. Who better than someone who can fight both mounted and unmounted, in political situations where you have a structure of nobility. If you don't have any nobility around, then maybe Cavaliers aren't the best thing to have, and just have paladins or fighter paladins. But I have a lot of it in my campaign, where, especially from Keeland, there's a lot of, I have upper class human types in Keeland, and we all know that my Winchester family falls into that. And then there's others, and Gary Holen will probably agree with me that Keeland's the perfect place for it. But I can see that happening in Friundi. I can see that in Valuna. I can see that in the Great Kingdom. I can see it in Ernst. I can see it in Nyrons. There's no reason why not. Most places.
I do like in the Unearthed Arcana, where if you're not noble-born, you can start out as one of the horsed kind of people associated with mounted cavalry. So, your parents are middle class and could afford a horse and some armor, and so you're serving you're serving the Cavalier, the noble guy, or you're with him and mounted, and you're doing stuff. But just that you got to work your way to being knighted so that you can actually take on the raiment of a true and noble. And your society should have rules where somebody's in plate, they better have the right to wear it, especially early on.
And we're not talking plate mail; we're talking full plate and field plate.
Yeah, full plate, or even plate mail. Sometimes they'll be like, "Who are you?" even types of jewelry. If they're from lower class and they're wearing some silver jewelry, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where'd you get that? And you're automatically assumed to have stolen it. So, because you don't wear gold unless you're a certain class of person. And then that I like those complexities because they make things more complicated.
The answer is,
what do you think?
Rich, the answer is yes on that. Baccaluni can have Cavaliers. I think that's one of the reasons why they have the scimitar as one of the weapons allowed. So I know you're saying that to be a stick in the side of all those Baccaloonies out there, you so purist, you. But that's okay, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you asked Anna what she thought about that.
Yeah, like what do you think about that added complexity?
Well, yeah, but and also it's interesting. You mentioned there are all the different types of plate mail and stuff. So you have all these kind of that's interesting. In the beginning, there were not that many, and then I think it was it second edition and third edition. You had like 10 different versions, and you had half plates, field plates, full plates. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think I'm not sure where did the half come in second or third? I think third.
They had it in third, but I'm not sure about second. Yeah.
For what? What? I'm sorry.
The different plate mails. There were like so many different versions.
Of that's third edition.
Yeah. And then they simplified it again. So
Unearthed added bronze plate mail, so like ancient form of plate mail, and then added also field plate and full plate.
Yeah.
Field plate is your more wearable for long campaigns type of thing. And the full plate is a little bit hot to wear, but it's good for tournament fighting if you're going to be jousting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, it depends on, don't overcomplicate your game as a DM. Over minutia things slows the game down and makes it a slog, and you don't want to do that. You want detail where it matters.
Right.
Third edition is a good example.
Exactly.
Of doing it. Yeah.
You want to have some of the feeling of reality without the simulation of reality.
Yeah.
You don't want to simulate it. That's just rules, like whatever. You want to feel like things make sense, but you don't want to, simulate reality with all the unnecessary complexity.
Yeah.
Rich wants
to.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Rich, once again, Rich is asking, European culture is not Greyhawk culture, right?
No, exactly.
It's not.
It's influenced by things,
right?
And that's therefore I kind of get a little bit disappointed when people always say, "Oh, your heraldry doesn't it breaks the German or whatever heraldic rule from something." Yep. I was like, yeah, because it's Greyhawk.
It's not German.
Yeah, or French or whatever.
Blood right. Yeah, is based on European culture.
Exactly. Yeah. So Greyhawk. Yeah. When I done heraldry, then I try to look at the heraldry that is there and kind of follow the colors and ideas from it, so to speak. And also have like Erdi heraldry follows its kind of ideas.
I have no problem with the Baccaluni having Cavaliers. Now, they may fight with scimitar. They might not fight with full plate, but they could still be Cavaliers. Yeah. I have no why they wouldn't fight with a lance in some instances or a light spear instead. I mean,
it has to do with status and principles.
Yeah. I have no problem with it.
I would challenge you to
find Ekbeer. What's that?
Any peoples in history that didn't have some sort of quote upper class, that didn't have slightly different rules, slightly different principles, slightly different privileges of wearing the plate or having more money. I mean, even primitive societies, somebody who's like the ultra chief is going to have that sort of thing. So I think it can fit into. It's not European, but it can fit into Greyhawk just fine.
Meaning you can take it from the Orientals to the Mongols to and so on and so forth.
To the Armenian cataphracts, which were heavily armored.
Yep.
And they were, not
you want to be on the wrong side of that one.
No,
exactly. I mean, you have many interesting historical examples that could fit into the Saracens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now the Solutions. I'm sorry, the Solutions, which came after
Alexander
the Great. Solutions Empire had a lot of.
Yeah, and they were probably very used spears mounted on horseback a lot. So
So there's a lot. I mean, that's why I converting it over doesn't. Yeah, but. Oh, what? Oh. That is Roman, isn't it? SPQR.
Roman. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But basically, mounted horse archers.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
So I also have some heavily armored knight figures I didn't dig out because I didn't have time to. But
Tim is doing a lot of painting for his barbarian campaign.
well, I plan on doing it.
Build a Master Crafter's tied up, man. So you're gonna have
I
to.
know. I got it too. I got it.
They're really.
I know. I've already consulted with him. He's consulting and mentoring me. So
A little joke, but not really. If there's one thing when I get with my WotC meeting, I will make sure that I canonize kumquats. Okay,
That will be
that
one
will
of your
happen.
goal.
That's goal number one.
Mhm.
Right there. The kumquat will
Yeah.
become canon in WotC culture in Greyhawk, no matter what happens. Yes.
Yeah. Then we know that if there's a kumquat appearing anywhere in any Wizard of the Coast book in the future, we know that Jay have succeeded.
Exactly. They are not in the Zorda index yet. So here's a question, Rich Lundetalis. Can Flan have Cavaliers?
Yeah, why not? If the other ones have it, then mounted spearmen or something. Yeah, why not?
I would think they could.
Mm-hmm.
Rovers, aren't they kind of
Rovers, I would say no.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I would say there might be some of the other barbarian horse. They would be probably, they'd be like that scimitar wielding light lance. One of them might have some nobles that qualify, but again, they may not be wearing plate, but they
So
kind of
there
fall
you
into
go.
that
Yeah.
wearing better armor.
10 especially. I don't see why not. They had a noble structure there, didn't they? So it's just Flan's race, Cavaliers of culture. Exactly, sure. And once again, each game is going to have things a little differently, which is great. It's a wonderful thing about Greyhawk with DMing. And but we have a solution to all these problems in nobility. And thanks to Build a Master Crafter / Scorn, we have the following. We have another class made up. So this class is probably one of the biggest damaging classes that there is because they have a special ability above others. It is the Saxon or Foot Knight. Now, Bill, we've talked about this in previous incarnations, but it's based right off the Cavalier. So the Saxon, known as the Foot Knight, is a subclass of Cavalier whose purpose is to lead infantry forces. They have the skills and abilities to combat mounted units from the ground using particular weaponry such as pole arms. Unlike Cavaliers, Saxons may originate from any social background as their main task is to lead infantry, a job considered by most nobility to be beneath them. Their stats are a little lower, human or half-elven, based on the culture of the game. You could even throw a half-orc in there. You could, depending on the role play. I don't see why not. Raised by human parents, but we haven't had one. No one's asked, and this class allows for the big one, and that is this is the only class in our game that allows you to double specialize in two-handed swords and polearms. So this is where you're going to get your monster damaging two-handed weapon wielders with this. Notice the tables are very similar to in the middle for weapons and specialized with Cavalier, but there's other abilities on the right side that are different. The bleeding wounds effect, automatic defensive training. They can also use infantry devices like ballistas in a pinch by themselves if they have to. So
if they're leading a whole bunch of people with pikes, that horse's charge might kind of
thank you, Vomoku.
collapse.
Yes.
If they're leading a whole bunch of pikemen, that could end up being real bad for the cavalry.
Yeah.
So
Valmoka says Saxon Rock's using it in his campaign. Great to hear. So these classes get attack rates a little bit just as quick as Cavaliers. Okay, so
Cavaliers can
not as fast, but
attacks before fighters, right?
What's that? Cavaliers get two every one at 6th, fighters 7th.
Well, right, and I think
barbarians
clearly in their write up is that Cavaliers get up every day and train. They get up every single day and they train.
Yep.
So it makes sense that you're going to develop early because they have that sort of professional discipline.
Yes, Extort. A special thing is they're leading infantry troops, so they can use siege equipment that that are being used, and in a pinch they can go around and they can reload and do all that stuff. It's because they're heroes, right? So that class's ability is, and it may not be realistic, but it's part of the game. How about if all the troops got all the fish stick troops got killed with a fireball, and you're sitting there and you got to get that onager, you got to get that trebuchet, it's loaded, and you got to get it off. You know, you got to shoot at that time. They can do it.
As the leader of the infantry, they'd have to be able to train the relevant pieces of the ground force.
Right.
They're not hung up with like that's dishonorable like the Cavaliers.
Yeah, good point, Bill. Think of heavy Roman centurions. Great point. Very great point. Except centurions always fought weapon and shield. These guys are fighting two-handed sword or bardiche or halberd.
Saxons, I mean, the real Saxons had these giant great axes, which were horrific. I mean, they were, basically kind of like a bardiche, but the big, just two-handed great axes.
This is your chance to finally, after 40 years, if you're old school, double specialize with a polearm and it be legit, right? So, hey, I've had this halberd, but I've only single specialized with it. Now I want to double specialize. Now you can.
Was that a rule in Unearthed Camera? You couldn't double specialize?
Yeah, and polearms and two-handed sword.
I think I just always ignored that.
Yeah, I know you did because we did.
But I don't think I had anyone who double specialized in it.
Snow Quilter, put the exclamation and drawing together.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think polearms. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I don't like telling people they can't do it just because it does too much damage. And
what book is it found? It's found in this book. Where will it be found? Hopefully in JS2. Okay, one day. All right. So, if you are interested and are going to use it in a campaign, I think that Bill would agree that we would have no problem, sharing some of this information from, I don't think it's an issue at all. So Anna, what were you going to say there?
I was going to say the polearms, they suffer from a bad kind of PR or something because they don't have cool names. They should have cool names and not French kind of flurryful names from the Renaissance or something. They should have cooler names. Then I think they will be more useful. I remember in Dragon Mirth, they had one of these comics that said that, oh damn, I've been carrying around this all along, and all of a sudden I realized, it's an axe on a 6-foot pole, and I've been carrying it for years, and I didn't know it was a polearm or something like that. It was like one of these French weird names that it was like Polearm School 101 or something, and so I think they should have kind of made more fantasy cool names and called it and kept those base ideas for because the base ideas are probably very effective and they were useful and stuff, but they should have made them cool fantasy names and simplify them down to like 4 or something like that.
I think they made so many with different damages, but I'm not sure there's that much difference between the different style. I mean, some blades are just cleavers on a pole, and some are axe heads on a pole, and some are But I don't think when that thing is accelerated towards you, I don't think the difference is that big.
Exactly, and if they work the same, but then call them a pole axe or a pole sword or something to make it simple for players to understand what it is.
Yeah, well, a pole axe is a great axe is a bardiche, isn't it? That's what I always thought.
Well, no, a bardiche is shorter.
Okay,
well, a great axe, yes, but it's not a pole axe. A pole axe is actually more like
longer.
Right? Meaning we played this for 40 years, and I've given up on trying to understand what the different French-sounding things on a pole on the stick is. So I kind of I use spears and longer spears or whatever, and that's kind of it.
But think about this now. The Lockerbur axe, everyone says the stats are in there. The stats are right in the back of your player's handbook on all these great weapons. So you're like, especially for fighters. But
they need to come with a cool name, fantasy name, and they need to come with a simple illustration showing it like a silhouette or something. Showing. I
think they're in Arcana. Look, what is that?
This is a pole axe.
Okay. Yeah. How long's the hilt? Hole.
Oh, it's on the floor.
So it's 6 foot. It's on 5'10".
I'm 5'10".
Yeah, so it's about 5 feet.
Yeah. It is.
The pole itself,
on the receiving end.
Yeah. So the shaft is about 5 feet, and then comes the blade on top of it. Oh, okay, and a pick in the other.
So pole axe is similar to what, a Vulge too? Vulge similar?
A Vulge is I think they're similar.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's how you pronounce it. I had no
Volge.
idea how you that
Yeah.
Volge. Okay, yeah,
So I mean, this is the back, you know.
Like a back to Corbin almost, that part.
Yeah, but it's more like
Yeah.
a little blade. It's like it's not
Right.
quite armor piercing like the hammer, back of a hammer.
Right.
So it's more thinner. And then this is, you know, you can stab with it. So
yeah. It's like a Swiss Army knife weapon type kind of. It has for everything in both
yeah, but
ends.
it doesn't quite have the full on spear point like a halberd.
It-
So
yeah, some of
okay.
them do. Yeah. Hmm.
but I don't know what you would classify, but I know that being on the other end of it, it would be terrible.
So you have
Yeah.
glaives, glaive guisarmes,
Yeah.
tridents,
Mhm.
right? Bardiche, halberd, Spediman Ranseur technically are spear class,
But the
right?
trident is okay because it's a simple name that people can understand
Yeah.
what it is. But the Bir de Cobain or whatever they called a lot of weird things that are weird names. Yeah.
But note this. You
Well,
want to
pubic dead. My pronunciation was terrible because the problem was that I approached
terrible.
French from Swedish and not from English, so it was kind
That's
of
good.
very weird. And I speak some French, but not enough to understand what the damn pole arms mean.
you
Well, I
want
think it just allows you to look them up. I think is the only reason they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I always wanted cool fantasy names
agree with
and
edge
simple
weapons for specialty
illustrations
priests.
of the weapons, so you see the relative size and stuff. So
always can use edge weapons for specialty priests. I agree. You want to throw in a little trick in against your players. Have them go at with a Saxon or even even allow double specialization for a fighter for this in that case, if you want, and against a halberd wielder. Now remember, in my game, strength is different. Strength is the following. Say you have 18/01 strength, +1 hit, +3 damage. If you're two weapon fighting in your secondary hand, your damage is in your secondary hand is halved round down. Only 1 point of damage there. But if you're fighting with a two-handed weapon, it's truly two-handed. That starts at Bastard Sword and goes up. Okay? Bastard Sword, Falx. It's another great weapon we use. Two-handed sword, all the polearms. 1.5 times round up. If you're +1/+3, you're now +1/+5 to hit. Add that with double specialization, that's +8 damage. 1+ on a magic weapon, that's +9. Against a large creature, two-handed sword does 3 to 16. 3 to 18, I'm sorry. Crazy. So
But there is no human that can take a hit from those weapons with an expert hitting them and live. So
well, yeah, one shot. But this is a fantasy
right,
set.
it works.
Yeah. Does it confuse you? Sure. Well, it's in horror. That is right in Horror in the Hools, everyone. I got to do it once a show. That is in Horror in the Hools about my how I do damage and how we've done damage in our campaign for a long time now. So, made more sense for his Tim.
And of course, I want to point out now that you mentioned Horror in the Hools that I was sporting that slick Horror in the Hools shirt the other day.
Yes, you were, man. Yes, you were. From
the highly
KSO.
coveted Horror in the Hools shirt.
Does it do that, Rich? I didn't even know that. We did not steal that from 3.5. That's how we've always done it. So they stole it from me. Okay.
Who's that? What's this? What'd they steal?
Watsy or whoever it was at the time. They must have been watching in with a crystal ball in our game. We've always done it that way, and we did not know that 3.5 did it that way.
Did what way? The
1.5 times for strength.
Two-handed?
Yeah, two-handed weapons.
I like well. I like the Warhammer does it where when you're using two-handed weapons, you roll double the damage, but you take the best roll.
They are. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, and that's how they work that.
So this character, the Saxon, tends not to fight with shield, obviously. So their armor class isn't as good as a Cavalier. They are on the ground, so they're not mounted. And they can use missile weapons, and they're not as noble as they're coming from common background. You don't have to worry about that issue, and it's a class that kind of fits. It fits in our campaign.
But I would like to argue, Jay, too, that they could be noble, especially if you look at
1.5 times.
If they were from, like, let's say, the Isle of the Sea Princes, because just like Britain was not a large land force, it was a naval force. So they didn't have tons of cavalry. They had mostly footmen. So, the English style of fighting was a little bit different. They didn't have big, giant mounted forces. They had smaller foot forces. And wearing English style plate armor was actually a style where they basically didn't wear armor from the knees below the knee down. Well, they're faster.
Yeah.
You're in a big giant group, and believe me, every ounce you put on your foot is like carrying extra 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So it affects you. So anyway, I just throw that out there.
It's crazy that we're already at the 2 hours. Is that insane?
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
it's been covered a lot. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So note this: we have 4 classes for you to choose from that have evolved in our game from the Cavalier. The base Cavalier Dragon 72. Use the Arcana one, sure, great. Make some tweaks to it. If you use it right from the book, you're going to be disappointed because there are going to be fights within your party when these guys are charging in. It's just going to be a mess. Use some common sense. Simple. If you use an archer class or use some other bow, don't eliminate your bow specialists by your Cavaliers. That's my recommendation. Paladins, keep them fighters. My recommendation, Tim's recommendation. But if you like to have them as Cavaliers, you can have them as Cavaliers too. We have them still as Cavaliers, but they're rarely played now. The Elven Cavalier, great option. If anyone has any questions on the changes from the article, I'll go over it with you at some point. No big deal. I like the class. It's a good option for a Cavalier elf-based society, Selene especially. Knights of the High Forest, that would be another perfect place to use them as well. So there would be the 2 main places in my campaign that they'd be used. Then the Saxon, the Foot Knight, Bill's creation. And just trust me, it's a group effort here. I'm not going to take credit for everything that happens in our game of 41 years. Without my friends, without Tim, Bill, Alan, Walt, Tom, Marco participating and contributing, it's not the same game, right? And that's another key thing. Listen to your players. Players have suggestions, listen to them. Players come up with an idea, listen to them. And if they come up with an idea and you don't like it, create your own emote that says no, just no, and then end the discussion. Like that emote right there.
I disagree.
Meaning listen and then say no.
Or listen and then tweak it and say, well, okay, but it has to do this sometimes, right?
Mhm.
That's
So, Bowling for Soup, that's a funny name. Where to start? Do some research. The Greyhawk community's here. Here's Cannon Fire Discord again. Here is Virtual Greyhawk Con Discord. The Con Discord's more specialized, but start there and ask questions. I have and I don't remember the number. Can someone look it up and link it? It's on YouTube. Beginning a Greyhawk campaign. It's me, Ann, and Jason Zavoda.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Gabbin 94. It's a great start point for where to start in Greyhawk with adventures modules that are published. So that's what I would do. And also just stick around for we're on all the time, and the community's got like 5, 6, 7 different streamers now. It's going. And also what edition? But Siren, a lot of the stuff that we talk about in Greyhawk itself and Legends and Lore is editionless. So that's the cool thing. It's about lore and canon and stuff. There you go. Thank you so very much. So hopefully this helped you tonight. We're back to a regular just discussion here, but my gosh, starting the next stream, it's going to be, may you live in interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to live in interesting times the next 2 weeks. I can't wait for the next 2 weeks. It's crazy. So let's start off with, can everyone give Tim what a great job for Session 0 last night. Yesterday morning. That was great. I hopefully you all really had fun with that watching. So Tim, what are your comments to that and what's going on?
Well, that was the first time I've actually done an official roll up like that. Even in person, it's usually never been kind of as formal. I found it really fun, and I was nervous the whole time. I had no skin in the game, kind of, but I was still like, you want to see what everyone's going to roll. So I liked how I chose to do it because it made sure that nobody was done much ahead of everyone else, instead of having one person do all their roles.
everyone.
So
And
I
they
thought
all
it-
had fun, and the characters are coming together, and we'll set a date for it and a time well ahead so everyone knows when it's going to be the first true adventure with that. Session 0 was a great idea, and
was
it
it-
was only the show was only like an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. It wasn't that long. It is on YouTube already. It's on Twitch still for another
yeah.
58
It could have been a lot
days.
shorter, but I think everybody was just having a good time.
And we BS'd afterwards for almost 2 hours afterwards off of
Yeah.
talking
Oh,
about
wow.
other things. Yeah, we were on a long time on Saturday doing a lot. And then Chuck Cumbo came on from Troller Games and we're talking to him and all.
Yeah.
So you just kill them. That's no fun. If you want to kill them, you want to really make them
Well,
suffer.
I mean, that, DM can always do that, but
Yes.
I prefer to give them enough rope to hang themselves.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, I basically did a stat analysis and sent it out to them. Like, what's the lowest for each stat? What's the highest, and what's the average? Their highest stat average for the whole group is wisdom,
Yes, and then
Oh.
charisma, isn't it?
and net charisma is right behind it.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. And
Strength
Constitution
didn't
is
make
one
it
of the
to the
lowest.
upper half. Okay. Wow.
So it explains
Yeah.
their willpower and wisdom is what helped them drive through the hardships of growing up, and their charisma is why they were saved by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Definitely.
And
Was
then
a
I
fun
did
time.
then I did the breakdown of the Dark Hand. Here's the comparison to the Dark Hand group, which is not fair because those were created.
Yeah, those
very-
weren't rolled up and stuff.
Yeah,
They
you
were created
created, yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
So we'll get a date whenever that date's set. We will get it down and get it out to everyone. Banner. I'll make sure everyone knows when it's going to be. So plenty of time. And they'll have a fun time with that. And I get to sit back and just watch.
And I want them to be able to. I gave them 30 character choices, so I wanted them to really
Class choices.
make an informed decision when they finally decide, because I don't want to have the buyer's remorse after they picked one because it sounded cool and they liked it, and then later missed the detail that they didn't prefer. So
Makes sense.
I
Absolutely.
think 3, 4. I think 4 of them are set pretty much, and one of them is thinking.
And that's Dwayne thinking.
No.
Oh, Kayla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's some of my advice because anyway, so she's just got to peruse and figure out which fits best. And
Right. Right.
I want it to be fun, so I want to make sure there's a good informed decision.
Very well, and that's good to know.
And
And
it takes time. I mean, it's a bunch of stuff to read. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that she has to review, and it's just a lot of characters.
I'm perusing where to go next here on Raid Wise tonight.
All
So
right.
yeah. Well, Tim, I really
Well,
appreciate you coming on and
Sure.
and being my argumentative side on the Cavalier
Yeah.
right there. That was funny, and
Yes.
the dressing up, that was
I-
awesome.
well, I will say also, remember the Unearthed Arcana Cavalier. As you go in level, you get followers that follow you.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really plugged into societal
Yep.
campaign. So if you're going to use it as written, you've got to take into account that, hey, guess what? He's got to feed them. He's got to feed the horses. He's got to care for all that. It's awesome. Oh, you're noble. Oh, well, good. Here's all this extra crap you got to worry about.
Well, you had to have your home fief and build a castle. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're not much of a
Be
lord.
born
or
into
knight.
leadership, and leadership is a headache. If it,
Yeah.
it's
It
just part of
is definitely.
And then all the taxes that comes on top of it. So yeah.
they're noble. They should be exempt from taxes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but then you have to
They
live up to it.
levy taxes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and we'll have Tim will be back, of course, on all other things fun in the campaigns of course. Everyone goes, oh, Tim's not playing on Thursday night, but once in a blue moon.
Von Moku is like, he gives an eccentric performance.
Yes.
What an eccentric performance.
Yes. So Anna, what's going on?
Well, first, what I've been diving deep into a couple of days now has been since when I started putting Isle of Dread and revised the southern end of the map and the Volhun or Pearl Ocean. Then I realized that what the heck, I need to have a placement of the rest of the planet too, roughly, or kind of work on the planetary layout. So I kept taken a couple of days and deep dived into it, and I think I have a good model that is cool. So I'm going to write an article I'm already started, and I kind of put the finishing touch, I think, to the elevation model and the continental layout. And it's I think one of the primary goals is to get rid of that cowhide that was kind of so simple that it kind of doesn't. It needs to be kind of detailed enough to so you can kind of skip over it, and also add some cool geographical features sprinkled out here and there and everywhere in order to make it more, because have a model of the planet that is inclusive, meaning that you can actually have a lot of interesting gameplay in a lot of different regions. And what other might not be obvious at first is that the actual tilt of the planet is 30 degrees. That means that the polar regions and the tropics and the deserts become much bigger, and what gets squished is the temperate regions. That means that I had to try and spread out and add some more temperate areas, because you have to kind of spread it out that way. So I tweaked some of the features just slightly and introduced a bit more, because temperate is where you can have, but there's plenty of where you can have a lot of kind of normal style play, so to speak, and also to have things. So there should be everything from cold to hot and some interesting combinations into it. And I also try to stay kind of in homage to all the maps and stuff I've seen of Earth, of the planet before, up until now, so to speak. So I haven't done any radical shift of it. I just wanted to include as many features from as many of them as possible that I think are cool. So that's coming, and after that, the climate analysis of that layout proposal is already underway, so to speak, because that is kind of a key part of it. So that's coming in the elevation. I hope that I can have that article written today, and the climate will come in a couple of days. And then there's all the other stuff that I talked about. The other is also underway, so to speak. But there's so much hanging on this that I want this out early, and also because I want the discussion kicked off early, so people can tell me what I'm screwed up and what seems to be working or not.
So you got a lot going on, Anna.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
A lot, and it's great. And man, I'm getting excited. I am really getting excited for two. I'm
oh
like,
yeah, you're the one having all the cool new stuff here. So yeah.
So, and thank you for participating in this discussion. I know this is not in your wheelhouse with the
Nobody was
interested.
I was especially interested in the historical, meaning they evolve from the dragon to the unearthed arcana and so forth. That was interesting. So yeah.
It is. It's taken a journey, and we bounced all over the place with it, and now we've been settled down, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to add stuff. I'm always looking to add, and look at all these new classes. Tim's got a ton of classes that I don't have in my campaign. Yeah. So Tim, just name 5. Don't tell them what they do. 5 classes I don't have. Seer.
Totemic Shaman.
Okay. Yep.
Chanter.
Okay.
Mystic, although there's no one really a mystic, but it was one option.
Yeah.
Soothsayer.
There you go. Classes.
Those are just the outsiders. I mean, the other ones are
Commando too. Canadian. Yeah, I don't have Commando.
Yeah.
Either.
Commando.
I have the Scout. I don't have a Commando.
Right.
So I have the Scout.
I have to change the Commando if it's ever going to make it towards Jay's world.
You think?
Yeah, I'll call it a light fighter. It'll be totally different, and it'll remove those things that offend your sensibilities.
I'm easily offended. He will try.
No, he has certain rules that it's your world. You have certain rules you want, and that includes rules that cross that line. So to make it okay, you just have to take that out. I'd have to take that out. Mainly the backstab. That's the big one.
Yeah, a fighter backstabbing is
Yeah. It's really not a backstab, but yes, I agree. That's the big one, right? That's the biggest point.
Yes, it is. It's a lot more than that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking. So, do they go Commando? Absolutely. That underwear is missing forth. I agree 100%. All right, are we ready for this? So, how do you top virtual Gary Con. Well, we just go something to the wall here. So let's start with Wednesday night's next show. And that is, you want to talk about having 3 guests together that I don't know if any of us, myself, Gary Julian, Anna, Mike Bridges, are going to get a word in edgewise.
Oh,
And
we
that-
don't have to. We don't have to. Well, not in that show.
Wow. All right. So basically, we're going to talk era Paizo Hawk. And the era of Paizo Hawk is that era, 2000 to 2007 or 8, when they lost the license and it went back to WotC for Greyhawk. With those, what's that, Anna?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say their adventure paths and
Yes.
so many awesome stuff and dragon articles and all sorts of cool things they
Unbelievable.
published. And a lot,
Unbelievable.
hopefully some things they didn't publish can be mentioned too. That will be fun.
With all 3 of them. Now, Eric Mona is like
Yeah.
the head director at Paizo now, and
Yep.
Jason and James work for him, but they were all part of that Living Greyhawk, Paizo era of which is called Paizo Hawk. And I at first didn't want to over push having Eric on too much, right? So I had James and Jason invited on, and then I just sent Eric a Facebook Messenger message. Hey, by the way, I did this, just so you know. And he's like, well, that show would be better if I was on it too. All 3 of us were on at the same time, don't you think? I'm like,
Of course.
what am I going to say? No?
No,
So-
I would love to see all 3 on the show
Yes,
at the same time.
exactly. So
They're awesome.
Wednesday nights. Before that, though, I want to shout out Blue Box's talk show. It's 2 hours long. Lord Masters Arcanum, 5 p.m. Central, so 6 Eastern. They're going to have that Tailspire discussion with
On Wednesday. Yep.
Johnny Reed, Chris Baggers, and Jason Roy, all from Tailspire. That's going to be a 2-hour show. From that 2 hour, from 6 to 8, then we go into ours. It's going to be 4 plus, because I know it's going to go longer than the 2 hours, right? This will go, who knows how late into the night it'll go. But it's going to be a long night of great talk shows on both channels. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah, Tailspire's a dinosaur thing there, Josh. Yeah, absolutely. No. So
Well,
that's Wednesday. What was that, Tim?
I was just saying, Tailspire is like that virtual tabletop 3D.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Thursday night is Adventure 909. I don't know what it is yet because I've been planning all this other stuff. So I got to get working on that. So our normal Thursday night game is on for Thursday night. Next Sunday night, we have a Legend of the Game on the next Gabbin. And it doesn't get any bigger than this really out there in the world. And that is Zeb Cook, David Cook, A1, right? Slave Pits in the Undercity. I1.
And so
Dwellers
many,
of the Forbidden City.
Yeah.
Vecna Lives.
hmm
The Greyhawk Wars box set. Tome of Magic. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean,
dragon articles.
yeah,
and
it's
all sorts
just-
of stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So, and it's his birthday that day, 65th birthday, May
Whoa.
2nd. Yeah. And he wanted to come on his birthday. He goes, that'll be fun for me to come on my birthday.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've heard some of it. He'd been on seminars at Garricon, and it was awesome to listen to him. So yeah.
Isle of Dread too.
Really-
Wow, how did I forget that one too? Isle of
Yeah.
Dread. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. What are we
Wow.
getting
So
him?
He did the Forbidden City.
I won.
Is
Yeah.
that the one with the UN tie in it? In the Mongrelman?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. It's the picture of the big frog on the cover. It's with burgundy. Dwellers
I
of
don't
the
remember
Forbidden
that part. I just remember the Mongrelman had one in
Yeah.
there, and the UNT were in it. That was the impetus for the mongrels. So.
Thank you, Dwayne. I'm trying to move that bar higher and higher, and no Vampire the Masquerade there. No, Enoch, no. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. But this is going to be wonderful. So Zeb Cook next Sunday night. Okay.
Mhm.
Fast forward to 2 weeks to May 8th, Saturday night. Here's the big thing. So this came together just like that right after the show that we did Gabbin last week. And Eric Mengi said, let's make a new group up and let's play multiple times, not a one shot. And I know what I'm going to do. The title may change, but comprehend this, everyone. Ed Greenwood, the creator of like Forgotten Realms, Elminster himself, is going to play in Greyhawk. and is going to play a custom class that we created. And in fact, my friend Alan created. He's going to play a Greyhawk Mage, our class that we have. It's one of our newest classes, and it's in playtest.
That
So
is
just
so
phantom
cool.
that.
Is cool.
All
That
right,
is cool.
it is cool. And here's his character, Ravalantar.
Oh.
All right, young. He's 23. He is a Greyhawk Mage. We will go over the Greyhawk. We did it before, but we'll go over the Greyhawk Mage. His mentor is dead, but you become a mentor of the Circle, and with all those spells that are in the Jim Ward Greyhawk Adventures book, and you get special abilities with them, and you use other ones. You don't use non-name spells except some like defensive spells like Shield and stuff. You don't use Magic Missile. You don't use Fireball. You use Adaluk's Boiling Oil Bath or Nistel's Blazing Baton, Blazing Beam. Those are the ones you use. So he is being mentored by the Adaluk Sphere. So his mentor, since Adaluk is dead, is the legendary Dark Elf Jawal Severnane out of Greyhawk. Okay? So yes, and here there's rules for it and all. He has his spell list, and they're all named spells. See their named spells on the back there. And yes, Ed's playing. I've heard.
Specialty School of Magic.
Specialty, yes, it's going to be really neat. So this is we have a Greyhawk Mage. Anna's playing a half-elf archer thief. Tony Winslow Brill is playing a half-elf fighter mage, both from Celine, and they both know each other. You're from House Vreshton. She's from House Jistrul, which is Lord Gazumba's house. Okay. We also have Eric Mengi. He's playing a halfling guardian. Pretty neat. We have Eric Boyd, who wrote all those great books, all the deities. He's playing a half ogre specialty priest of Heronius.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Yes. And Stella Luna is playing a human female paladin of Heronius. Now I'm working with Eric Boyd on how they are connected, and they may be childhood friends. They may, we'll see on that, but we're working on that still to have that connection there too. So that will be Saturday night, May 8th. I think this may have the potential to be our biggest show ever.
It's going to be a hoot and a holla.
A hoot and Annie, right? So, yes, with Ed Greenwood playing in the game, I'm looking for it. So, and then whatever's going on after that, and there'll be a lot. And Josh and Anna and myself and a couple others, we got to start prepping for Virtual Greyhawk Con in October. So we got to start working on that soon. And is that enough? No, Blood Relatives, no Southern. I think what they're going to be is Knights of Ulick or Knights were in the Pomars raiding, fighting, and they came across remember, this character is like in his early 20s. So in my game, 40 some years have passed. So it makes total sense. He was found as an orphan. As a half ogre child. They didn't, with half human blood, they took him back to Keoland and they raised him in a human society. I think that's the way we're going to go with it. So.
For what?
Yes. What's that?
For who?
For Eric Boyd's half ogre.
Wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of stuff. We're gonna really get the Virtual Greyhawk Con Discord a little more active too, with some things and some groups, and we're gonna be talking to everyone about that too. So I think that's enough of me talking tonight. What do you think? Let's do the 6 giveaways. How's that sound?
Damn.
Okay, one more time. Exclamation point drawing if you haven't signed up. It is for, and this ties in with Knights, the Codex of Aird, Troll Games great book. This book, the first person I draw will win the hardback book and free shipping. The book itself is $50. The next 5.
Jay doesn't let me try to win it.
You can try it. Yeah, I have no problem if you want to do it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
What I need to
Hey,
type?
Kayla. Yeah, you could type in absolutely. Anna could too.
Oh.
I have it already in PDF. So the Codex of Aird in PDF is like $20 as it is. So, and 5 of those. Okay.
Wow.
Yes. All right. Courtesy of our great sponsor, Troller Games. Just note, you always can get 15% off using that Lord Gazumba channel Discord code right there listed at the Troller Game Store site on any of your orders. They don't stack with other discounts, but if you don't have one, use that code for 15% off your order. All right. So, and Troller Games will be the main sponsor of Virtual Greyhawk Con. I've already worked that out. So they're already, and in fact, that maybe the only other con they're doing this year is ours. So they're kind of conned out, but not except for us. So it's really cool. All right. Here we go. You're all ready. Now, let's just make sure I don't crash the stream. Thank you for a monster audience again tonight. Thank you for all the follows. Yeah. Really I've decided that I'm going to go at it as hard as I can with Twitch and work on just cranking out some numbers both, and we'll see where it goes from there. And that's what's happening. So I'm closing out the entries. Good luck, everyone. The winner of the hardback book is Obsidian Risk. Congrats. Congrats, Obsidian. And the great thing is I don't have to worry if you're overseas or not, because it's not, I'm not shipping it. So there you go. Congrats, Obsidian. You were on Obsidian, right? Yes, you. I saw them. Mm-hmm. Right, Obsidian. Yep, there you go. Congrats. All right, I'm going to go through these 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 real fast. And if you don't call out, yeah, we'll go through. Ready? Here we go. Winner, Kai. All right, Kai Brightwing. Congrats. Winner.
Congratulations.
Rocks. Congrats. Congrats,
Awesome.
Rocks.
Rocks.
Yes. Winner. Beacon 1. Congrats. I saw you just on too. Congrats. If you haven't won before, I prefer email or Discord to get you the code. Oh, yep, you're definitely. Email, whisper me in here. Email or your Discord handle, one or the other. All right. If I haven't, don't have it. If you think I don't have it. Okay. Next. 2 more. And just remember, we're giving away stuff every show too. We're giving away stuff every show. Michael Zudrak. Zudrak. Congrats, Mike.
Congratulations.
Last but not least. Okay. All right. 2 more drawings. Mike already has it. So passing him his on. All right. 2 more. 2 more. Von Moku. Congrats, Michael. The Joust winner.
The Joust winner. He's a winner. He just keeps winning.
And lastly,
he said he never won anything.
Before I do the last one, any suggestions on who to raid into? I am thinking, I have no idea tonight. I'll have to, I may just randomly do it. No, it's his tabletop RPGs. It's not D&D. You know what? We'll do good. We'll do 20-sided. Is Dead Aussie on too? I don't see Dead Aussie in my list. Zambi's Zambi's got 57. She's painting. No, I'm not reading it. Josh, Ginny loved. No, I'm not going to do that. So, all right. You know what? I'm going to raid into. I'll raid into 20-sided. So I'll raid into 20-sided. Last winner. Yeah, last winner. Siderin 77. Congrats. I know you're on. All right. Contact me. I'll get these all out. Give me a day. I'll get them all out. Yeah, I don't want Starfinder's not our thing. So thanks. Thank you all. See you Wednesday night for a monster show. See you the rest of the week. Let's just have some fun. And let's set up this raid, head into 20-sided, give them a boost up, and everyone have a great night. Anna, thank you so very much. Tim, thank you so very much. Audience, thank you so very much for the support.
Good seeing you.
We'll see you all. We'll see you all soon. Hitting the right buttons here. Chat shortly. All right, raid setup. Yeah, Zambies is good too, Kayla. I'm gonna go with someone who's could use a little boost up here. There we go. I'll wait a minute, like you said. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna wait 10 seconds. Any more? 74. Wow. That's awesome. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you Wednesday night. Enemy out here. This off. Awesome show, guys.